Chapter 57:22. The UFO didn't slow down until it was more than 1,000 meters deep into the sea, slowly gliding towards a trench. When the UFO got closer, the dark trench suddenly lit up with starry lights, and the trench slowly opened up to two sides, revealing a huge metal platform. The UFO landed smoothly on one of the platforms according to the lights and entered the platform. Xiaolong, who was in the UFO, couldn't help but exclaim, "There's a base like this at the bottom of the high seas. It's too shocking. It feels like I'm watching a sci-fi movie. With this kind of power, it'd be easy for the center to rule the world, right?" Chan Dongqing said in disdain. "Don't be surprised. In fact, it was his first time here and he was equally shocked. However, there wasn't much technology in the ancient Jianghu, so a mobile phone in a base like this didn't make much difference to him. He thought that since there was such an incredible device like a mobile phone, there was nothing to be surprised about. At most, it would be many times bigger than a mobile phone. After the seawater in the elevator was emptied, the sound of a door opening came from the UFO. Xue Jianfeng pressed a button and signaled the two to bring Chang'e down. Walking out of the elevator, the glasses doctor was waiting at the door. He ignored Xue Jianfeng and the others and said to Chang'e politely, "Miss Chang, I've heard a lot about you. Your voice is very beautiful, and I've never had the chance to hear you sing live. This time I finally invited you as a guest. This is the Sacred Center. Welcome, Miss Chang." Chang'e snorted and didn't pay attention to this guy in glasses at all. No matter how she looked at him, he was a pervert. Why bother with him? If it weren't for the fact that all the meridians in her body were sealed by Xue Jianfeng's pure qi, Chang'e might have killed this guy directly. He seemed to be the leader of this group, and also the leader of Lin Yi's enemies. Killing him should be of great help to Lin Yi, right? Miss Chang doesn't seem to be very happy. It doesn't matter. I will arrange for someone to take Miss Chang to visit our central sacred region first. I believe you will like it here very soon. The doctor smiled nonchalantly and gave an order to his follower to bring Chan Dongqing and Xiaolong around the sacred base, while he brought Xue Jianfeng in another direction. Obviously, in the bespectacled doctor's heart, Xue Jianfeng's position was higher than Chan Dongqing's. This also made Chan Dongqing, who had left, lean towards Lin Yi. Xue Jianfeng didn't ask anything, instead silently following behind the bespectacled doctor. After walking through a long alloy tunnel filled with a sci-fi atmosphere, the bespectacled doctor finally stopped in front of a door. After taking off his glasses, countless rays of light moved from the top of his head all the way to the tip of his toes. A three-dimensional projection appeared on the door, comparing the face, skeleton, iris, and other aspects. After confirming that there was no mistake, the door silently slid open. "Come in." The bespectacled doctor put his glasses back on and said faintly without turning his head. Xue Jianfeng nodded silently and followed in. The room was like a small screening hall. In front of a huge screen there was a long curved table made of alloy. There were 7 chairs on the side facing the screen. At this time, a young woman was sitting on the chair in the middle. The bespectacled doctor walked to the woman and bowed slightly. "Miss Lan, the person has been captured. What should we do next?" Lan Xiaoru's fingers moved quickly on the table a few times, and the huge screen was instantly divided into hundreds of small screens, showing the important passages of the sacred region in the center. Among them was the scene of Chang'e, Chan Dongqing, and Kang Xiaolong. Lan Xiaoru nodded. "Chang'e, she's a good bait. How's the development of the new medicine?" "We've already made a sample. If Miss Lan agrees, why don't we let Xue Jianfeng test the effects of the injection?" The bespectacled doctor didn't care that Xue Jianfeng was behind him. He spoke as if Xue Jianfeng was a normal lab rat. Xue Jianfeng was furious, but if it could increase his strength, then so be it. There was no need to be so calculative. Lan Xiaoru turned to Xue Jianfeng and said faintly, "Xue Jianfeng, you're an elite that the central is focusing on nurturing. Every time there's a new medicine that can increase your strength, we'll give it to you first. You have to know that the materials to make these medicines are very rare, and the production is very limited. If you're not willing, you can tell us. We'll consider changing people to test it. Of course, we won't give you priority when it comes to medicine in the future." Xue Jianfeng was slightly startled. Although it was still the same meaning, Lan Xiaoru seemed to say it more pleasing to the ear. Even if there was a threatening tone, Xue Jianfeng could accept it. Miss Lan, please let me use the medicine. I believe that I can handle any new product. Xue Jianfeng was very straightforward. If he couldn't increase his strength, then he would never be able to surpass Lin Yi. This was something he absolutely couldn't accept. Lin Yi was Xue Jianfeng's greatest enemy. Xue Jianfeng had always wanted to kill Lin Yi. Unfortunately, no matter how hard he tried, he was suppressed by Lin Yi in all aspects. This made him thirst for strength even more. Even if he had to bear a certain risk, he wouldn't hesitate. Lan Xiaoru didn't know what Xue Jianfeng was thinking. After hearing the answer she wanted, she nodded in satisfaction and said, "Very good. As long as you're willing to cooperate, you'll always be an elite that we focus on nurturing. I called you here to talk about this. You can leave first. After I discuss with the bespectacled doctor, I'll inject you with the new medicine." Xue Jianfeng bowed slightly and agreed respectfully. Then he turned and left the room. After the room door closed, Lan Xiaoru said to the bespectacled doctor, "How's the effect of the new medicine?" She didn't care about the indicators like safety. The most important thing was the effect. Chapter 57:23. Lan Xiaoru shook her head and said, "There's no time. Let's try it first. I've contacted the main body on Heavenly Island. He said that Lin Yi's spirit was projected over this time. His physical body has no signs of damage after such a long time, which means that his spirit didn't affect his physical body too much." The doctor in glasses raised his head slightly and looked at Lan Xiaoru. "You mean to deal with Lin Yi's spirit with all our strength?" "Of course. Otherwise, do you think I would agree to you guys taking hostages? This kind of retarded blackmail plan is simply an insult to my intelligence. But it's a good choice to use as bait." The doctor in glasses calculated in his mind and felt that this plan was completely feasible. The only thing he needed to worry about was the reaction from the higher-ups. Won't killing Lin Yi's spirit cause an accident from the higher-ups? You have to know that this is different from the previous plan, the doctor in glasses said with some worry. He didn't have the guts to openly disobey the orders from the higher-ups. Lan Xiaoru's fingers gently tapped on the metal table, making a soft sound. Then she said with a smile, "The main body said that as long as Lin Yi's physical body doesn't die, there won't be any problems. Since it has been proven that the separation of the spirit won't affect his physical body, then we can take the opportunity to kill Lin Yi's spirit. This is the best opportunity. Anyway, if something happens to his spirit, he can only blame his bad luck. As long as his physical body is alive, we can explain to the higher-ups. In that case, we can give it a try." The doctor in glasses finally nodded in agreement. After all, Lin Yi had given him too much pressure recently. If he could get rid of Lin Yi, it would also be a good thing for him. It's not a try, it must succeed. Lin Yi's growth rate is beyond our imagination. If this continues, he will become a big problem for us sooner or later. A trace of ruthlessness appeared on Lan Xiaoru's face. When the doctor in glasses saw this, he felt a slight chill in his heart. "Understood, I'll call Lin Yi now and ask him to come over. Miss Lan, have you thought about how to deal with him?" The doctor in glasses took out his phone and asked worriedly. Lan Xiaoru waved her hand and said, "Do what you need to do first, I will make arrangements for the rest." The bespectacled doctor nodded slightly and did not dare to ask any more questions. He immediately dialed Lin Yi's number. "Lin Yi, if you want to save Chang'e, then make sure that all the formulas of the Godly Doctor Medical Group are ready, and then wait for my call to exchange them. If you don't agree, prepare to collect Chang'e's body." After the glasses doctor finished speaking quickly, he hung up the phone directly without waiting for Lin Yi to answer. Lan Xiaoru furrowed her brows and said, "Are you sure it's Lin Yi?" The bespectacled doctor was stunned. He looked at the phone and said, "There's no mistake. This is Lin Yi's number. It's the latest." Did he speak? What if the person who answered the phone wasn't him? Lan Xiaoru continued to ask. The bespectacled doctor was speechless. After a moment of silence, the bespectacled doctor picked up his phone and said, "Let me confirm." After dialing again, the bespectacled doctor pretended to be indifferent and asked, "Are you Lin Yi?" "It's me." Lin Yi's voice came from the other side, which made the bespectacled doctor heave a sigh of relief. "Do you understand what I said just now?" It seemed too awkward to hang up just like that, so the bespectacled doctor could only ask casually, "I understand. Where is the transaction? Lin Yi was still extremely calm. Wait for my call. The bespectacled doctor hung up again, then said to Lan Xiaoru, It's Lin Yi. After saying that, he suddenly felt like he was acting like an idiot, and it immediately triggered a serious embarrassment. He could only cough and say, I will go and inject the medicine into Xue Jianfeng first. Let me know if there's any news. Then he turned around and left. When Lin Yi heard the busy tone from the phone again, he couldn't help but frown slightly. He didn't know who had contacted him just now. It should be the center, but was it really okay for the center to use such idiots to do things? How did they develop and become so strong? Boss, is there any news about Yi? Kong Xiaobo saw Lin Yi put down his phone, so he quickly asked with concern. Sort of, the other party should be the center. This time, their target is the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group's formula, and they want me to use the formula to exchange for Yi. Lin Yi looked at Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi, and he didn't intend to hide it. Fortunately, Kelman and Layman were taken away by the Buffon family. Otherwise, if they just signed the contract with them and had to give the formula to someone else, even if they had a good relationship with them, it wouldn't be easy to ask for it. Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi didn't care. After all, this company originally belonged to Lin Yi. Although they had put in all their effort in order to save people, they couldn't care so much. Boss, if that's the case, then let's prepare first. No matter what, Yi's safety is the most important. Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi looked at each other and immediately expressed their stance. Lin Yi nodded and said, I'll see how the situation goes. Let's prepare the things first. Actually, there wasn't much to prepare for these things. Lin Yi was the one who came up with it, so who would know better than him? It was just that Kong Xiaobo and the others were in charge of the company now, and Lin Yi didn't interfere at all, so they still needed to go through this formality. Very quickly, Kong Xiaobo prepared the formula and passed it to Lin Yi. And then they began to wait for the center's call. The center didn't let them wait for too long, and very quickly they called again. Lin Yi, find a boat by the sea yourself, and sail it near the international waters. We will contact you when the time comes for the specific location. Remember, you can only come alone. If anyone follows you, you will have to collect Chang Yi's body. Lin Yi said coldly. I understand, you guys wait. This time Lin Yi originally planned to go alone, and the other party's request was exactly what he wanted. Of course, if Languza went with him as a sea dragon, he could still unleash his greatest power in the sea, but Lin Yi still needed Languza to stay behind to protect Su Shirhan and Sun Jingyi. Compared to that, this mission was more important. After putting away the phone, Lin Yi didn't wait for the others to ask and directly said to Languza, Languza, you stay behind to protect them. I will go alone to save Yi. Don't worry, in this world, there is no one or thing that can threaten me. Sun Jingyi and Su Shirhan were a bit worried at first, but after hearing Lin Yi's domineering words, they chose to stay silent. After a few words, Lin Yi transformed into his primordial spirit state and directly flew to the sea. Chapter 57-24. Very good, you didn't play any tricks, did you? Now drive straight to the east, I will inform you when the time comes. Lin Yi didn't find anything with his divine sense. The other party should be observing him through the satellite, right? If that was the case, then Lin Yi really didn't have any other way. Following the other party's instructions, he kept driving east, and after half an hour, he was asked to keep driving south, then west, and then north again. This was directly going around in a circle back to the original point. Knowing that the center was making him go around in circles, Lin Yi didn't take it to heart. These child's tricks were all within his expectations. You're almost out of gas, right? 10 nautical miles south, there is a mobile refueling ship on the sea. You can go there and refuel. The center was quite considerate, calculating that Lin Yi's gas was almost out, and even pointed him to refuel. Lin Yi said coldly, How long do I have to walk on the sea? When can I trade? You're out of patience? Don't worry, go refuel first. After the other party finished speaking, he hung up the phone, and Lin Yi could only go refuel first. In the central holy region at the bottom of the sea, Lan Xiaoru didn't come up with a feasible plan to deal with Lin Yi, because no matter how she thought, in the end, it seemed that there was no way to kill Lin Yi's primordial spirit. Letting Lin Yi take a walk on the sea at the beginning was really to wear down Lin Yi's patience and drive, but in the end it became something that had no choice, because the action plan against Lin Yi couldn't be established. How's Xue Jianfeng's condition? Lan Xiaoru contacted the laboratory and asked. Xue Jianfeng was the strongest means that could threaten Lin Yi now. If Xue Jianfeng could succeed, then they would have more confidence in dealing with Lin Yi. The bespectacled doctor shook his head and said, "There are no side effects from the injection, but the effect is worse than expected, less than 1/10 of the original estimate. Although it can heal itself, the speed is quite slow, and it can't play a decisive role in a battle." What is going on? What is the problem? Lan Xiaoru resisted the urge to roar in anger. It was such a good plan, but the execution was full of loopholes. She was about to go crazy. "I've asked Xiaolong to take a look. Perhaps there's something wrong with Dr. Kang's formula." Xiaolong knocked on the door just as the doctor finished speaking. Xiaolong nodded after taking a closer look. "This recipe has been altered. It's not the original recipe of House Kong. Change it back immediately and continue the experiment." After Lan Xiaoru finished speaking, she forcefully cut off the video communication, rubbed her forehead and sat down. It seemed that Lin Yi's stroll on the sea would have to continue. However, Lin Yi had a lot of patience. It didn't matter if he spent a little more time. He would just take it as watching the scenery. While Lin Yi was cruising on the sea, Dr. Glasses had begun the development of a new potion. Lin Yi did not make many changes. After all, it was impossible for him to make changes in the wrong direction. The technicians in the center were not fools. They might not be able to tell if the potion was weak, but if there was a problem, they wouldn't use it directly. So, the doctor's previous efforts were not in vain. He only made some minor adjustments to the original potion, and it became a new reagent. The materials needed for the potion were precious, but there were spares in the warehouse. In less than half an hour, the new potion was ready. Xue Jianfeng, the previous potion had some flaws, but it should be fine this time. When your genes completely fuse with the potion, you'll be able to recover from the damage you received in battle. That way, you'll have an immortal body. The doctor was afraid that Xue Jianfeng would have other thoughts, so he comforted him with a rare smile. Hearing the words immortal body excited Xue Jianfeng. This was the best chance for him to suppress Lin Yi. Of course, he wouldn't give it up. He nodded firmly. "Doctor, give me the injection." "I'm ready." The doctor nodded with satisfaction and didn't say anything else. He directly pushed the potion in the syringe into Xue Jianfeng's arm. Xue Jianfeng wasn't worried at all because the first injection didn't have any adverse reactions, which meant that the safety of the potion was still very high. In particular, the healing speed of the wound was indeed several times faster than before. So, Xue Jianfeng wasn't worried about the second injection, but he was looking forward to it. After the potion completely entered Xue Jianfeng's body, there was no abnormality at first. After about 10 seconds, Xue Jianfeng suddenly twitched violently. Then his head tilted and he passed out completely. The doctor was shocked. Xue Jianfeng was now not only a qualified test subject, but he was also the strongest trump card they used to deal with Lin Yi. If something went wrong now, Lan Xiaoru probably wouldn't forgive him. "Hurry up and report the status. What's going on?" The doctor rushed forward. While checking Xue Jianfeng's physical condition, he shouted orders to the assistants around him. The assistants didn't wait for the doctor to finish, and had already started working. After all, this kind of situation often happened in the laboratory. They didn't know the importance of Xue Jianfeng, so they weren't as nervous as the doctor. Heartbeat data is normal, blood pressure is normal, cell activity has increased by 800%, and it's still increasing. Thinking curve is smooth, and he's in a deep coma. An assistant quickly summarized the various indicators to the doctor, so that he could grasp Xue Jianfeng's real-time situation immediately. The doctor was instantly relieved. After a careful check, he straightened his back and said, "It's okay. He should be in the process of gene fusion, which is why this happened. He'll probably wake up soon. You guys observe him closely, and report to me immediately if there's any abnormality." "Yes, doctor." The assistants answered in unison and then continued with the work they were doing. The doctor wiped the sweat off his forehead and then connected to Lan Xiaoru's video call. "Miss Lan, the new potion has been successfully developed. It's been injected into Xue Jianfeng. Initially, it seems that the situation is still relatively stable, but we can only be sure after Shui Jianfeng wakes up. Chapter 57-25. Okay. I'll inform them right away. The doctor didn't waste any time and called Dafeng Bro after he cut off the communication with Lan Xiaoru. He was together with Chen Dongqing and Zhao Long, so he informed them as well. 3 minutes later, everyone was gathered in the meeting room. Lan Xiaoru went straight to the point. Everyone here can be considered the backbone of our center. Right now we need to get rid of Lin Yi, a troublesome enemy. You're all familiar with him, and I want to know if anyone can provide any effective methods? They all looked at each other and didn't speak for a while. If Lin Yi was easy to deal with, he would have died hundreds of times already. Why would they need to discuss this? Plus, Dafeng Bro was Lin Yi's spy, and Chen Dongqing was starting to side with Lin Yi. Even if he thought of something, he wouldn't say it easily. As for Zhao Long, he and Lin Yi were people from 2 different worlds. The difference was too big, and he didn't dare to say anything even if he wanted to. Lan Xiaoru waited for more than a minute, and seeing that no one was willing to speak, she pointed at Chen Dongqing. Old Chen, you're close to Lin Yi in terms of strength, and you've dealt with him the most. You should be the one who understands Lin Yi the most. You go first. Chen Dongqing scratched the back of his head and pretended to be dumb. I don't know. Every time I meet Lin Yi, I'm always the one at a disadvantage, and Lin Yi never looks like he's serious. So, if we're talking about understanding, I'm about the same as everyone else. Lan Xiaoru froze. What he said made sense, but Chen Dongqing said that he was useless in front of his superior. It seemed like he didn't care about his superior's feelings at all. Putting a piece of trash in an important position meant that there was something wrong with his superior's judgment. The doctor coughed and changed the topic. Miss Lan, Lin Yi is only a primordial spirit now, not his real body, so his combat strength is definitely not as strong as his real body. We'll think of a way slowly, and we'll be able to find his weakness eventually. Unfortunately, we don't have much time to slowly think of a solution. Lan Xiaoru snorted. She couldn't keep leaving Lin Yi to go in circles on the sea. If Lin Yi lost his patience and went straight back to Heaven Stage Island, wouldn't all her plans be for naught? That? Miss Lan, Dr. Glasses, can I say something? Zhao Long asked weakly, raising his hand. He was a dispensable existence here, and no one cared about him. Even if he wanted to speak, he had to ask for Xiaoru's permission first. Lan Xiaoru glanced at Zhao Long and waved her hand casually. Speak. Zhao Long was suddenly excited. He pinched the knot of his tie and coughed lightly. It's like this, my cousin Kong Ming, Miss Lan, you know him. He's a refiner, and I seem to have heard him mention that a normal primordial spirit is very afraid of refining fire. Since the doctor said that Lin Yi is now a primordial spirit, then can we start from this aspect? Maybe we'll be able to get rid of this annoying bastard. The doctor nodded. That's a good idea. Using refining fire to deal with primordial spirits is the most suitable, but there doesn't seem to be any refiners in the base, so we can't deal with Lin Yi in a short time. Maybe we can use artificial fire to replace it? Chen Dongqing suddenly objected. I don't think that's a good idea. Lin Yi is an elixir refiner himself, and many people know that he has used elixir fire many times in the small world of the immemorial era. If he was really afraid of elixir fire, why would he still use it? Dafeng Bro seized the opportunity and quickly added, Yes, we only have one chance and we can't be careless. If refining fire doesn't pose a threat to Lin Yi, we'll be in big trouble here, so we must be careful. Lan Xiaoru nodded. You're all right, but this is indeed a feasible method. Dr. Glasses, refining fire may not be of much use to Lin Yi, but you can use the characteristics of refining fire to develop artificial fire, and it might have a miraculous effect. Miss Lan is so wise. But since Lin Yi is so powerful, I think that since we're going to develop artificial fire, we might as well develop a super fire, in case it's not powerful enough and Lin Yi escapes. Zhao Long flattered Lan Xiaoru a little, and then put forward his own idea. He was the same as Kong Ming, wishing that Lin Yi would die quickly. Since there was such an opportunity, of course, he would use it as viciously as possible. Lan Xiaoru immediately made the decision. That's settled, Dr. Glasses. I'll leave this matter to you. Before Shui Jianfeng wakes up, we must develop the super fire. Lin Yi's patience is probably wearing thin. Okay, I'll do it right away. The doctor agreed without hesitation, and then got up and went back to the lab without saying goodbye. Although the super fire was a little difficult, it was much easier than making medicine. The doctor had a plan in mind, and when he went out, a simple design had already been formed. The corner of Chun Dongqing's mouth twitched, thinking to himself, Linny, I can only help you up to this point. If you die in their hands, I won't have to make a choice. As for the Comme de Fong bro, he was actually very anxious. If he could contact Linny, he would risk his life to inform Linny. Unfortunately, in this base, de Fong bro had no way of contacting Linny. Linny, on the other hand, was still going for a spin on the sea, but he wasn't that stupid. He wasn't going to do anything and let the people in the center toy with him. After 2 laps, Linny realized that no matter where he went, he was always going in a circle or a square, not deviating from his course at all. What was the intention of the center doing this? Or the location of the center's base was actually nearby? With this speculation, Linny simply concentrated his divine sense in one direction. In this way, the accuracy and linear detection length were far from comparable to the previous range detection. Unfortunately, Linny didn't find anything even after scanning the area in 4 different directions. Could it be some divine sense shielding prop? If that's the case, it should also be able to find the blank spots in the divine sense, right? Linny murmured in doubt, and suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration. At the bottom of the sea. Chapter 57:26. With this idea in mind, Linny immediately shifted his divine sense to the bottom of the sea. After a while, he really found the central sanctuary hidden under the trench. It's really at the bottom of the sea. They're really well hidden. If it weren't for my powerful divine sense, I might not have been able to find them. Linny said with a sneer. He was already thinking about how to sneak into the trench without anyone noticing. Now Linny was sure that the center must be using satellite positioning to observe him. Once Linny left the yacht, he would be discovered by the center immediately. If he wanted to sneak into the bottom of the sea without alerting the other party, he had to deceive the satellite in the sky. Although Linny was powerful, he had no way of destroying the satellite in space at the moment. Third Cloud Dragon appearance. Linny only needed a little thought to find a way. The Third Cloud Dragon appearance was originally a martial arts technique of the Green Cloud sect. It could allow people to continuously move in the air without the help of external forces. At the same time, it would leave behind a phantom image that was enough to pass off as the real thing. In the current situation, Linny did not need the complete Third Cloud Dragon appearance. He only needed to leave a phantom image to mislead the satellite. Moreover, it did not need too much time. It was enough for him to enter the underwater base. Copying and modifying martial arts techniques was a piece of cake for Linny. What's more, the Third Cloud Dragon appearance was originally something of the Green Cloud sect. Linny completed the modification in a breath's time. After setting the yacht to autopilot, Linny directly launched the modified version of the Third Cloud Dragon appearance. A realistic phantom image sat in the cockpit, while his real body entered the sea through displacement. To enter the central sanctuary, one had to dive more than a kilometer. For ordinary people, they would have been crushed by the terrifying water pressure. However, Linny did not care at all. The moment he entered the water, he transformed into the primordial spirit state and completely ignored the resistance of the sea. The phantom image on the yacht would dissipate in a few minutes. Linny had to approach the central sanctuary and enter it during this time. Fortunately, the primordial spirit state was extremely fast. In less than a minute, it had already appeared above the central sanctuary. It's Linny. The central sanctuary's alarm system suddenly issued a sharp alarm, and a guy on duty in the monitoring room actually discovered Linny's figure. If he had been a few minutes later, the base would have been infiltrated by Linny. At the same time as the alarm sounded, a transparent protective film appeared above the trench. Linny wanted to use his primordial spirit to pass through the protective armor, but it was a little too late. He hit the protective film and was bounced back. What is it? Even my soul can't pass through it? But it doesn't matter. Since the infiltration has failed, I'll just attack them head-on. Linny's face turned cold. He flipped his palms, and in the center of his palms were 2 perfect super pill fire bombs. Boom! Boom! 2 huge explosions in a row caused the entire seabed to be involved in a huge whirlpool of water and fire. Linny did not dare to get too close to this place. After throwing out the super pill firebombs, he turned into a primordial spirit and quickly retreated several nautical miles. The violent explosion at a depth of a kilometer formed a huge wave on the surface of the sea. It took a few minutes before it gradually subsided. The yacht that Lin Yi had been on was directly overturned and directly turned into floating debris in the sea. When the aftermath of the explosion subsided slightly, Lin Yi appeared above the trench again. However, what made him helpless was that the protective film was still undamaged under the attack of the two super pill firebombs. It was indeed a high-tech thing that could block Lin Yi's primordial spirit state. The strength of its defense was simply incredible. Since Lin Yi had developed the super pill firebomb, this was the first time he had returned without success. Back in the endless sea of the ancient Jianghu, a super pill firebomb could kill a large number of sea monsters in seconds. Ha 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 ha, too awesome. Dr. Glasses, this base of yours is too awesome. Lin Yi, that pretentious head, has become an idiot this time. Xiaolong saw this scene on the monitor, and his originally frightened emotions immediately turned into excitement. He couldn't help but laugh and dance, looking completely crazy. Glasses also laughed dryly a few times. To be honest, Lin Yi's attack really scared him. This protective film was his proudest work, but just now Lin Yi had almost reached the limit of the protective film. The power output in that instant was no less than the explosion of 2 hydrogen bombs. Lan Xiaoru also came to the Glasses lab and asked with a serious expression, "Dr. Glasses, how is the research on the super pill firebomb?" Chen Dongcheng and the others all looked at the Glasses. This was the question they were most concerned about. Of course, everyone's mood was different. Xiaolong definitely wanted to attack immediately and kill Lin Yi directly. Dafeng Bro, on the other hand, was the exact opposite. As for Chen Dongcheng, it was a bit complicated. He didn't know which one was more hopeful. The bespectacled doctor's hands moved back and forth on the control panel rapidly, even leaving a series of afterimages behind. However, it was not a problem for him to multitask, so he could still find the time to reply. Almost there. It'll be done in less than 2 or 3 minutes. He paused for a moment. If our protective film can last for another 2 or 3 minutes. Xiaolong, who had been laughing non-stop, froze. He thought that the protective film wouldn't have any problems, but from the looks of it, it wouldn't last more than 2 or 3 minutes. Chen Dongcheng looked at the monitor, agreeing with the Glasses' deduction. He didn't know where the limit of the protective film was, but he could sense that the attack just now had shaken the film. Now that Lin Yi had put his hands together and condensed a super pill firebomb that was bigger than the previous 2 combined, it was hard to say whether or not it would break through the protective film. Lan Xiaoru narrowed her eyes and ordered, "Send all the instantaneous energy into the protective film. We can't let Lin Yi in so easily." The so-called instantaneous energy was all the energy in a short period of time to supply the protective film. If it was used like this for a long time, the oxygen supply system in the base would be paralyzed, so it couldn't be used like this all the time. Chapter 57:27. Execute the order. Lan Xiaoru completely ignored Big Brother Dafeng and shouted in a deep voice. The bespectacled doctor did not hesitate and immediately completed the input of the order. In an instant, the entire base fell into complete darkness. Only the outer layer of defense shone brightly. At the same time, Lin Yi's super alchemic firebomb descended again. It was even louder than the previous 2 super alchemic firebombs. The raging fire even burned up all the seawater in this area in an instant. The blazing light was like a new sun being born in the dark seabed. The entire terrain of the trench was flattened by the aftermath of this terrifying explosion, completely revealing the huge metal monster in the center of the sacred zone. The layer of defense trembled violently as if it would shatter at any time. However, after a while, this fluctuation and trembling slowly subsided. Lin Yi, who had retreated to a distance again, had an ugly expression on his face. His divine sense could observe that the layer of defense was almost at its limit, but it still managed to withstand it. If the power of the super alchemic firebomb was a little stronger, it might have been successfully broken. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful the super alchemic firebomb was, it was difficult for Lin Yi to control it. Once it was thrown out, it might not be able to retreat in time. Lin Yi himself would also be pulled into the vortex of the explosion. That would really be courting death. Miss Lan is really wise. If it weren't for your prompt decision, this layer of defense would definitely have been destroyed. After the energy supply of the base was restored, the bespectacled doctor quickly input a series of complex instructions again. He did not forget to compliment Lan Xiaoru. This time we should be able to buy more time. You should speed up the progress. I don't think Linny will give up just like that. Lan Xiaoru did not have the slightest smile on her face. From the recovered monitoring, she could see that he was rushing over like lightning again. The consumption of the defensive layer needed time to replenish. Even if it was only for a few seconds, it was still a blank period. Lan Xiaoru naturally knew this weakness very well. The first time, because of the aftermath of the 2 super pill firebombs, Linny chose to watch from afar and condense a new and more powerful super pill firebomb. But this time Linny did not continue to wait. In the blink of an eye, Linny passed through the aftermath of the explosion and appeared above the central sanctuary defense layer. The modified version of the Cloud Dragon's third appearance allowed him to move like a ghost. He moved 3 times in a row, avoiding most of the remaining explosive power, and arrived at the place he wanted to go almost unscathed. The murderous aura of the 5 elements transformed into a flood dragon, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws as it let out a silent roar. It directly engulfed the seawater within it, and like a falling meteorite, it struck the defensive layer. There was a huge tremor. Circles of ripples spread out in an instant, and Lin Yi's body was also bounced back, but his attack was effective. Traces of cracks began to appear on the defensive layer where the 5 elements flood dragon struck, and then faster and faster, and in just a breath's time, the cracks had spread to the entire defensive layer. How is this possible? Isn't this an energy-converted defensive layer? Why are there cracks that look like they're real? Lan Xiaoru looked at all this on the monitoring screen in shock, and could not help but exclaim. The bespectacled doctor did not raise his head, and his fingers were moving so fast that they were almost broken. Even so, he still had time to answer. Those cracks are not real cracks but formed by Lin Yi's true qi. The confrontation between the 2 kinds of energy produced this kind of phenomenon that looks like it's real. Miss Lan, you don't have to worry about it. Hurry up and get your super flame out. Lan Xiaoru could not help but yell. At this time, he was still in the mood to talk instead of getting down to business. The bespectacled doctor also smiled bitterly to himself. He did not slack off at all. It was really hard to have a female boss. When Lan Xiaoru finished this sentence, the entire defensive layer collapsed, turning into spots of white light in the dark seawater, floating and swaying, and disappearing without a trace. Lin Yi, who was bounced back, did not hesitate. His figure moved, and he rushed to the center of the Holy Land again. Since he had been discovered by the other party, Lin Yi could only enter as quickly as possible and rescue Chang'e. Otherwise, when the people inside reacted, Lin Yi would be too passive. All right. The bespectacled doctor pressed the last enter key, and his fingers trembled violently. He did not feel it when he was in the state of overload just now, but now that he had stopped, the side effects became apparent. However, compared to the completion of the mission, such a trivial matter did not need to be concerned at all. In the surveillance screen, as soon as Lin Yi approached the alloy armor, a layer of blazing white flame suddenly rose, directly evaporating the seawater in front of Lin Yi. Lin Yi, who was rushing forward, saw the jade pendant wildly vibrating in his mind, causing Lin Yi to turn around and fly back. The third appearance of the Cloud Dragon once again helped Lin Yi avoid a disaster. After a series of flashes and displacements, he finally escaped from the danger perception area. Amazing! What kind of flame is this? Lin Yi could not help but feel a lingering fear. His primordial spirit body had only felt a trace of heat from the flame, and it was already aching, as if it was about to melt. If he was caught in the flame head-on, even if Lin Yi's primordial spirit body could use alchemic fire, he would definitely not be able to resist it for even a second. It worked. The bespectacled doctor jumped up abruptly. The fact that Lin Yi was forced back meant that his research was correct. This super flame was enough to threaten Lin Yi's life. What the hell? Lan Xiaoru slammed her palm on the alloy table as the bespectacled doctor jumped up. I can't believe he got away. If I was just a fraction of a second later, I would have been able to catch this cunning bastard. Xiaolong clenched his fist, wanting to cheer along with the bespectacled doctor, and smashed his other fist downwards, wanting to express the same regret as Lan Xiaoru. He felt like he was being torn apart, but he failed to express either of those feelings. He froze there looking very funny, but no one here had time to bother with him. The bespectacled doctor recovered his fingers and started working on the control panel again. The entire sacred base was very big, and the super flame couldn't cover it all. That would consume too much energy, and he wouldn't be able to last long. The bespectacled doctor had no choice but to focus on defense and attack, manually controlling where the super flame would appear. This way, he would be able to control the energy consumption to a level that was sufficient to make up for it. Chapter 57:28. The bespectacled doctor continued to control it with both hands. At the same time, he turned his head and smiled bitterly. Miss Lon, the defensive layer just now mobilized all the instantaneous energy, so the base's energy level has not fully recovered. The super flame that was just completed only used basic energy. It's already a very good result to be able to force Lin Yi back. After all, Lan Xiaoru was not an ordinary person. When she heard this, her eyes immediately lit up. You mean that as long as this super flame has enough energy support, it can turn defense into offense and directly attack Lin Yi in the distance? Yes, Miss Lan is indeed wise. However, now our energy is not enough to threaten Lin Yi at this distance, so for the time being, we can only focus on defense and not let Lin Yi attack our base. Take this opportunity to slowly accumulate energy, strive for an explosion, and completely destroy Lin Yi. The bespectacled doctor said with a relaxed expression. When the super flame was completed, he already had this plan in his mind. Now that he said it, he also wanted to show off in front of Lan Xiaoru. Very good. Bespectacled doctor, you must block Lin Yi outside. Now focus. Lan Xiaoru pointed to the monitor screen and said to the bespectacled doctor. Lin Yi tried to rush to the base several times, but no matter where he was, as long as he got close to the alloy armor, the blazing white flame would definitely appear. Fortunately, Lin Yi was prepared and did not suffer any damage. However, these flames really gave Lin Yi a headache. Even the shadow and displacement of the cloud dragon's triple appearance could not avoid the flames, so Lin Yi was really at his wit's end. In fact, it was impossible for the bespectacled doctor to distinguish between the shadow and the real body of Lin Yi's triple appearance, but he did not need to do so at all, because the bespectacled doctor was not a powerful cultivator. As a scientific researcher, he only needed to use the equipment to lock onto the fluctuations of Lin Yi's primordial spirit. The analysis of a supercomputer was sometimes more reliable than an expert. After Lin Yi pulled away, he tried to use the superalchemic firebomb to bomb the alloy armor. Unfortunately, this kind of armor was very strong, and the superalchemic firebomb was burned and assimilated by the superflame, so its power was greatly reduced. When it landed on the center of the Holy Land, it at most left some traces. Could not cause enough damage at all. It seems that the superalchemic firebomb won't work. I have to try other moves. Lin Yi frowned slightly and filtered his moves in his mind. Suddenly, he slapped his forehead and said, "Why did I go so far? I should have used this move." In the deep sea, the power of using a superpill firebomb would be reduced. After all, this boundless seawater would always have an effect on flames. Even if a portion of the seawater was instantly evaporated, it would immediately be replenished. Although the power of the super flame in the center was already great, and it could turn the surrounding seawater into a vacuum every time it would not be. In the water, he should use martial arts that could make use of water resources, such as thunder and lightning. Because Lin Yi was thousands of meters deep under the sea, he subconsciously felt that thunder and lightning would not appear in such a deep sea. But he forgot that his own thunder and lightning martial arts did not need to descend from the sky. After understanding this, Lin Yi immediately took action. In a flash, he appeared not far away from the center of the Holy Land base. With a point of his finger, a thunder and lightning appeared out of thin air and hit the armor of the base without any hindrance in the water. This time, Dr. Glass's superflame could not react in time. Not everyone could see the trajectory of lightning clearly. In comparison, the attack speed of the superalchemic firebomb was like a snail. Even if Dr. Glasses could see the trajectory of Lin Yi's thunder and lightning, his hand speed could not keep up with the attack speed of the thunder and lightning. With a crackling sound, Lin Yi's thunder and lightning jumped and flickered on the armor, causing the lights in a small area to flicker. It was just a tentative attack, but it had already consumed a lot of the base's energy reserve. Linny was overjoyed. He knew that he had finally found a way to deal with this huge tortoise shell. Lan Xiru's expression changed slightly. She hurriedly asked, "How's the energy reserve? Can we attack Linny?" She knew very well that Linny was only testing the base this time. Next, he would launch a large-scale thunder and lightning attack. If she could not counterattack immediately, the energy would only be consumed more and more by him. The bespectacled doctor's forehead was also sweating. He knew the situation of the entire base best, and he naturally knew the consequences of every slight change. Hearing Lan Xiru's question, his fingers moved faster and faster, but this time he didn't even have time to speak. Lan Xiru also knew that Dr. Glasses was under a lot of pressure now, so she did not ask any more questions. She walked directly to his side and quickly operated the other control computer. Energy accumulation at 78%. Attack range of 2 kilometers. Hit rate 62%. Kill rate 51%. In the blink of an eye, Lan Xiru found the information she wanted to know. Her expression finally looked better. She nodded slightly and said, "More than 50% hit rate and kill rate. We can already take a gamble. Miss Lan, we only have one chance. We must be careful." Brother Doffing took 2 steps forward and approached Dr. Glasses. He advised with a solemn face, "The hit rate is only 62%. If we can't hit him, then everything will be over. Even if we hit him, the chance of killing Linny is only 50%. It's better to wait a little longer and let the energy accumulate more." Brother Doffing's thinking was very simple. He just wanted to buy as much time as possible for Linny. Even if he could only buy a few more seconds, it was very likely to affect the overall situation. "Shut up." Lan Xiru did not turn her head. She did not have time to care about Brother Doffing now. After reprimanding him, she quickly opened the attack control interface. With her authority, of course, she could control all the systems of the entire base. Moreover, her control level was not inferior to Dr. Glasses. Of course, Dr. Glasses would not object. With Lan Xiru's participation, his burden would be slightly reduced. Moreover, the two of them had been working together for a long time. They had quite a tacit understanding, so there would definitely be no problems. Chapter 57-29. In particular, Lan Xiru had mercilessly rejected his 2 suggestions just now, which proved this point. If something happened to Linny, the next one would probably be Brother Defeng's turn. The Central had always pursued the strategy of killing the wrong person rather than letting them go. The best outcome for him was to be sent as a test subject. At this time, Chun Dongcheng sighed in his heart. To be honest, his heart was now more inclined towards Linny. However, if Linny was finished, he could only continue to follow the Central. It was just that Chun Dongcheng was really a little afraid after seeing the Central's cold methods and stone-hearted methods. He felt that following the Central would not end well in the end. Outside, Linny realized that the lightning attack was effective, so he immediately decided to use his strongest lightning-type martial art, lightning burial. Even though it was thousands of meters deep under the sea, when Linny used lightning burial, it still attracted the clouds in the sky. In an instant, countless dark clouds gathered, and lightning crisscrossed among them, ready to strike at any time. In the Central Sanctuary Laboratory, the bespectacled doctor and Lan Xiru had turned on the attack control system at the same time and began to lock onto Linny. They could launch a powerful super flame attack at any time. They could even imagine the scene of the blazing white flame beam instantly burning a vacuum waterway and completely annihilating Linny. However, at this moment Linny smiled coldly. He raised his arm and swung it down, activating his strongest lightning-type martial art. Lightning burial. Countless lightning bolts crossed the barrier between the sky and the sea, cutting through the dark deep-sea space at the speed of light, and descended on the entire Central Sanctuary. The bespectacled doctor and Lan Xiru's fingers had already pressed on the launch button, but the sudden attack of lightning burial caused the entire base's circuits and instruments to instantly malfunction. Whether it could be repaired or not, at least this time the attack could not be launched in time. Damn it! The bespectacled doctor was paralyzed by the 2 electric arcs that jumped up from the console. He could only exclaim and take 2 steps back. Brother Defeng's eyes flashed. Now that the bespectacled doctor was less than half a step away from him, there was no time to think. He had already stretched out his hand, looking like he was going to help the bespectacled doctor. In fact, his palm directly passed through the bespectacled doctor's shoulder and grabbed the bespectacled doctor's throat like a ghost. Boss Linyi Dafeng can only help you this much. You'll have to rely on yourself in the future. The corners of Brother Dafeng's mouth curled up into a smile. There was a sense of duty in his heart. He did not hesitate to crush the bespectacled doctor's throat. If Linyi died, Dafeng Bro would die as well. If Linyi didn't die and the glasses doctor and Lan Xiaoru escaped, Dafeng Bro would still be in danger. So, Dafeng Bro made up his mind to get rid of one by one. If Chen Dongqing was not here, Brother Dafeng might have considered taking the bespectacled doctor as a hostage. However, with Chen Dongqing, a supermaster in the early stage of profound ascension, he did not dare to take this risk. The difference in their levels was too great. Chen Dongqing's aura alone was enough to make him completely immobile. It was better to directly kill the bespectacled doctor and break one of his arms. After killing the bespectacled doctor, Brother Dafeng closed his eyes and waited for death, ready for Chen Dongqing's revenge. Chen Dongqing did indeed rush over, but he did not pay attention to Brother Dafeng at all. Instead, he avoided him and directly attacked Lan Xiaoru. The powerful qi was like a substance, easily penetrating Lan Xiaoru's heart. Since Chen Dongqing had already made his move, he did not have the slightest intention of holding back. After shattering Lan Xiaoru's heart, he waved his hand to the side. The qi broke out of Lan Xiaoru's body and cut half of Lan Xiaoru's body. Only a small part of her chest was still connected to her left shoulder. Lan Xiaoru fell to the ground like a broken sack. Brother Dafeng felt that something was wrong. He opened his eyes in surprise and did not understand why this happened. Ha 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 ha, I didn't expect it. You're the one who killed me. Lan Xiaoru, who had fallen to the ground, suddenly laughed strangely and spoke clearly. Chen Dongqing and Brother Dafeng were both shocked. A normal person would have died a long time ago after suffering such a serious injury. Even a powerful cultivator would not be able to continue living. But this Lan Xiaoru could still speak? Are you surprised? To tell you the truth, it's impossible for you to kill me because I'm immortal. As Lan Xiaoru spoke, she propped up the broken body with both hands and tore off the part that had not been broken. As powerful as Chen Dongqing was, he could not help but be shocked by this terrifying scene. He did not know how to react for a while. No matter who it was, seeing a person with only a head, half of his chest, and two arms casually tearing his body apart on the ground, and then talking with a strange smile, they would have a creepy feeling. Chen Dongqing was no exception. On the contrary, Brother Dafeng had been in the center for a long time. He had also been in the cyborg base, so his psychological endurance was stronger. He immediately pulled out a dagger and said fiercely, "Immortal? I can't kill you? Then I'll chop you up and feed you to the dogs. Let's see if you'll die or not." Seeing that Brother Dafeng was about to rush over, Lan Xiaoru did not panic at all. Instead, she glanced at Brother Dafeng disdainfully and said, "Is this all you're capable of? Do you only know how to deal with me in this state?" Brother Dafeng was stunned. Although he did not feel embarrassed after hearing what Lan Xiaoru said, he remembered that Lan Xiaoru in this state might be more useful to Lin Yi. Therefore, Brother Dafeng simply put away the dagger and said, "Forget it, I'll keep you for a while. I'll deal with you later." Ha 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 ha, Dafeng. I knew you were a traitor a long time ago, and I wanted to keep you alive for a while to deal with you later, just to numb Lin Yi's senses. I didn't think you'd be so smart, seizing the perfect opportunity to betray me. Now I'll let you keep me alive for a while. Not bad, not bad. We're even now. The next time you fall into my hands, you can just wait for death. Lan Xiaoru said with a laugh. She was not afraid at all. Chapter 57:30. What key training target? Is it a guinea pig for key experiments? Chen Dongqing interrupted Lan Xiaoru's words and sneered. If the center really values me, they would have removed the poison in my body by now. Is this why you betrayed us? If you mend your ways now and kill Dafeng, I can let bygones be bygones. I can also promise to remove the poison in your body for you. What do you think? Lan Xiaoru said faintly. However, the condition she stated made Big Brother Dafeng extremely shocked. If Chen Dongqing agreed to it, then he would be finished. Fortunately, Chen Dongqing did not waver at all. He still sneered. I don't think I'm a fool. Rather than believing a woman like you, I might as well believe in my own judgment. Since I made a move against you, there is absolutely no possibility of turning back. Lan Xiaoru didn't seem surprised at all. She even nodded slightly and said, Sure enough, since that's the case, you Chandongcheng have become a target that our center must kill. I hope you can be mentally prepared. Offending the people from the center won't end well. Is that so? Lin Yi's fate is really miserable. Chen Dongcheng said disdainfully to Lan Xiaoru with a face full of ridicule. Looking at Lin Yi's lively appearance, Lan Xiaoru's words about offending the center would not end well was simply a joke. Big brother Dafeng suddenly laughed. Lin Yi and the center were old rivals. From the secular world to the heavenly island, then to the ancient underworld and back to the secular world. It seemed that Lin Yi had never suffered any losses in the confrontation between the two sides. Lan Xiaoru snorted and said, You are right. Lin Yi's fate will be miserable in the end, and you two traitors will be 100 times more miserable than him. Mr. Lin Yi's fate would be miserable. At this time he condensed another super alchemy firebomb and threw it at the sacred zone. The thunder burial just now did not damage much of the surface armor. At most it left some small potholes and thick black scorch marks. However, it did not matter. The main purpose of the thunder burial was to destroy the circuits and instruments of the entire base. Now only a thick tortoise shell was left in the central sanctuary. There was no energy to support the defense anymore. That was why Lin Yi didn't even use his strongest super alchemic firebomb this time. He only used an ordinary one, which was able to easily blast open the surface armor. Seeing the seawater instantly filling up the hole, Lin Yi suddenly realized that he could not destroy it like this. After all, Cheng Yi was still inside. Fortunately, this big hole was only a lift cabin. There were water insulation measures below, so it was not a big problem. Lin Yi entered, transformed into his essence soul state, and directly penetrated the alloy wall below. Without the first layer of defense and super flames, Lin Yi had no problem doing this. With a sweep of divine sense, Chang Yi's position clearly appeared in Lin Yi's sea of consciousness. It seemed that she had not suffered any injuries. This made Lin Yi greatly relieved. It was good that she was not injured. On the other side, Brother Dafeng and Chan Dongcheng stood together. The bespectacled doctor on the ground was already dead, and Lan Xiaoru's injuries were also very strange, which made Lin Yi a little curious. What's going on? Chen Dongcheng also betrayed us? Lin Yi suddenly felt a little strange, but he had guessed the truth. He wanted to go and take a look now, but his primary goal was to rescue Chang Yi. Anyway, Brother Dafeng did not seem to be in danger. After a few flashes, Lin Yi appeared outside the room where Chang Yi was imprisoned. He casually broke the lock outside, opened the door and smiled. Your concert is not over yet. If you don't go back, your fans will ask you for a refund. Before she finished speaking, Chang Yi directly threw herself into Lin Yi's arms and hugged Lin Yi tightly. She smiled happily. Brother Lin, I knew you would come to save me. Sure enough, I didn't guess wrong. You really came. Feeling the exquisite and delicate body in his arms, Lin Yi smiled awkwardly. I came a little late, and I made you suffer. You're not late. Brother Lin, you came very quickly. Chang Yi hooked her arms around Lin Yi's neck, raised her head and said with a smile. That charming look really made Lin Yi a little moved. When Chang Yi tried to seduce Lin Yi, he didn't care at all. But now, seeing Chang Yi's true feelings, coupled with the confession that he didn't complete before, Lin Yi was really moved. Okay, let's leave here first and go see the leaders in the center. Lin Yi smiled slightly. Now was not the time to talk about love. He patted Chang Yi's back lightly and led her to Brother Dafeng and the others. But before they got there, Lin Yi's consciousness discovered that Xue Jianfeng and Zhaolong had sneakily boarded the UFO and were in a state of activation. Xue Jianfeng was originally unconscious, but Lin Yi's lightning burial sent a large amount of electricity into the circuit and woke him up. Because of the new potion, although Xue Jianfeng was slightly injured, he recovered immediately. After Xue Jianfeng woke up and realized the current situation, he did not think about such a boring thing as saving Lan Xiaoru, nor did he want to avenge the glasses doctor. Instead, he sneaked to the place where the UFO was parked, ready to escape from here. Although this guy had been genetically modified, He was still afraid of Linny and didn't dare to fight Linny at all. He was afraid that he would be killed by Linny if he couldn't win. Of the 36 stratagems, escape was the best. He met Xiaolong, who had the same idea, and decided to bring him along. By the time Linny noticed it, the ship had already activated its emergency escape system, ready to eject at a moment's notice. Even if Linny wanted to stop them, he wouldn't be able to make it in time. He could only let the 2 cockroaches continue running. Linny, I'll come back for you. Now that I have an undying body, I'll be able to kill you when I get stronger, you bastard. Just you wait. Xue Jianfeng only dared to show off with his mouth, but his hands betrayed his cowardice. He quickly pressed the preset cruise route, and the UFO flew directly to the second base. Linny shook his head as he felt the UFO leave. He didn't care about Xue Jianfeng and Xiaolong anymore. They were just 2 small fries. It was no big deal if they ran away. Chapter 5731. Genius 1 second. Remember, if you want to go? The internet provides you with wonderful novels to read. Big Brother Dafeng turned his head and bowed with joy. Boss Linny, you are here. The 2 leaders of the center are here. Unfortunately, this woman cannot be killed. Linny did not care about Lan Xiaoru. He nodded to Big Brother Dafeng and asked Chen Dongcheng, what do you mean by this? Martial uncle, this disciple wants to return to the sect. Chen Dongcheng bowed respectfully and treated Linny with the etiquette of a junior. This Mr. Dafeng is also martial uncle's man, right? He can prove that this disciple is sincere. Just now, this disciple also participated in the killing. Big Brother Dafeng quickly nodded and said, yes, Boss Linny, I can prove that Chen Dongcheng really helped. When I killed the bespectacled doctor just now, I was prepared to be killed by Chen Dongcheng, but I didn't expect that not only did he not kill me, but he also attacked Lan Xiaoru. Otherwise, I would be dead now, and Lan Xiaoru would have run away. Linny nodded and said with a slight smile, you did a good job. Let's talk about this later. I will talk to Lan Xiaoru first. Lan Xiaoru snorted and said, Linny, I didn't expect you to really kill your way here. I underestimated you. You are really not simple, but it doesn't matter. The outcome between us has not been decided yet. Boss, this woman is a biohuman. Her current injuries are not enough to kill her. Big Brother Dafeng whispered in Lin Yi's ear. Lin Yi shrugged indifferently and said, what biohuman? I will blow her up and burn her to ashes. I don't believe she won't die. Lan Xiaoru laughed and said, Lin Yi, you are wrong. When I say immortal, I don't mean this body. This biohuman body is just a clone of my main body. You can do whatever you want with it. Anyway, it will not hinder my main body. As long as there are cells and genes, I can clone and regenerate infinitely. Remember, the center is eternal. This is just a base. Our battle has just begun. Then see you next time. Lin Yi's expression changed. He directly waved his hand and sent Lan Xiaoru flying with his qi. At the same time, he continued to increase the amount of qi and wrapped her in it. With a boom, Lan Xiaoru self-destructed. Even Lin Yi's pure qi was almost unable to restrain her self-destruction. Fortunately, it was a close shave and no one was hurt. This woman is really decisive. She's been talking nonsense with you guys for so long just to wait for me to come over. Then, she wants to see if she can hurt me by self-detonating. It's a good thing that she wanted to wait for me to come over. Otherwise, the 2 of you would be in danger if you were caught off guard. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and shook his head. He was a little more afraid of this enemy. He was scheming, capable, and had the support of the center's resources. He was not easy to deal with. Lin Yi suddenly felt a headache when he thought of such a difficult opponent who could be reborn infinitely. This matter was really not fun. He thought that he could get rid of the center this time, but it turned out to be such a result. Although it was not without gain, he still did not get rid of the big trouble. It was always trouble. Looking at the body of the glasses doctor on the ground, Lin Yi thought to himself, this guy can't also be a clone, right? If that's the case, then there's no end to it. Boss, fortunately you came. Otherwise, this woman might have been impatient and self-destructed. Chen Dongcheng may be fine, but it's hard to say for me, Dafeng. Seeing Lan Xiaoru exploding into a cloud of blood mist, Dafeng said with lingering fear. Chen Dongcheng quickly said, this time it's really thanks to Grandmaster. Otherwise, I would have been seriously injured if I was not prepared. With Chen Dongqing's strength in the early stage of profound ascension, even if he was not prepared, he would at most be slightly injured. This was completely to please Lin Yi. Lin Yi nodded to Chen Dongqing and said, "Since you are sincere, I will not reject you. As long as you can do things to satisfy me, I will never treat you badly." Chen Dongqing was overjoyed and said, "Thank you, Martial Granduncle. I won't let you down." After that, Chen Dongqing looked at Lin Yi with hope. The main reason why he joined Lin Yi was that Lin Yi could cure the poison in the center. Otherwise, he really did not dare to betray the center. Lin Yi was certainly aware of this, so he waved to him and said, "Give me your hand, I will show you the poison in your body." Chen Dongqing was overjoyed. He did not expect Lin Yi to be so straightforward. He immediately ran over, bowed and stretched out his hand for Lin Yi to check. As for detoxifying this poison, Lin Yi was already very familiar with it, and it was done very quickly. Chen Dongqing clearly felt his body relax, but he also knew who gave him his freedom, so he immediately cupped his fists and bowed, kneeling on one knee. "Master, this disciple will definitely go through fire and water for you in the future. I won't hesitate to do anything for you. If there's anything you want, this disciple will definitely complete it with my life." Lin Yi casually waved his hand and said faintly, "Helping you remove the poison is to repay you for letting Dafeng go. Although you said that you want to join me, I still can't believe you. Now I will give you two choices. First, you can leave immediately and we will have nothing to do with each other. In any case, the poison in your body is gone. As long as you don't provoke me in the future with your strength, there is no need to worry about not having a foothold in the immemorial era or in the secular world." Chen Dongqing was immediately moved. Being able to come and go freely seemed like a very good choice. If Lin Yi was not just testing him, then he could consider it. However, Lin Yi did not seem to be such a despicable person. In that case, what he said should be the truth. Lin Yi looked at the subtle changes on Chen Dongqing's face, and the corner of his mouth curved into a faint smile. He continued, "The second option is for you to follow me, but you have to take the poison I'll give you. Before you prove your loyalty, I won't give you the antidote. After all, you and I used to be enemies, and I won't let an enemy follow me easily. Do you understand what I mean?" Chen Dongqing was slightly startled. Of course he understood what Lin Yi meant. Moreover, he felt that Lin Yi's method was not wrong. If it was him, he would do the same. The problem was that he had just removed the poison from his heart. Did he still have to accept Lin Yi's poison? What was the difference between that and the heart? Chapter 5732. Genius 1 second. Remember, if you want to go? To provide you with wonderful novels to read. But was this really what he wanted? Chen Dongqing opened his mouth, but he couldn't say a word. On second thought, the people who followed Lin Yi, such as Bing Wuqing and Xianijia, were leveling up at a speed comparable to the force leveling up method in the center. Primordial Invincible and the others had even advanced to the more perfect profound ascension stage. Chen Dongqing didn't want to stop here, so following Lin Yi was his only choice at the moment. It was a long story, but Chen Dongqing had already made up his mind. He immediately put his other knee on the ground, raised his hands above his head, bowed his head and said respectfully, "Disciple is willing to follow Grandmaster. Even if I die, I will have no regrets. Grandmaster, please give me the medicine." Lin Yi nodded with satisfaction. Chen Dongqing could be so sensible, he could be trained well in the future. He really wanted to set Chen Dongqing free, but since Chen Dongqing wanted to follow, Lin Yi wouldn't reject an early-stage profound ascension expert as a follower. Taking out a refined poison, he placed it in Chen Dongqing's palm. Chen Dongqing bowed slightly, then swallowed it without hesitation. Since he had decided, Chen Dongqing was a straightforward person, he wouldn't do anything sloppy. This way he could leave a good impression on Lin Yi. Lin Yi was very satisfied with Chen Dongqing's actions. He reached out and pulled him up. "Well, you can follow me from now on. I won't let you suffer any losses. As for whether to go back to the immemorial Jianghu, we'll talk about it later." "Yes, Grandmaster." Of course, Chen Dongqing didn't have any objections. From now on, he would do whatever Lin Yi said. Maybe he could get the antidote soon, and maybe Lin Yi would accept him sincerely. Please note, the last-minute countdown of the self-destruct program 6059. An electronic voice suddenly sounded throughout the base, and the countdown began. Everyone's expression changed, They didn't expect such a change. Lin Yi immediately thought of the flying saucer that flew away, and Lan Xiaoru's strange smile. Perhaps the self-destruct program had already started at that time, and it only started to remind and count down at the last minute. There was no time to hesitate. Lin Yi shouted in a low voice, "Let's go!" Then he used his true qi to carry Big Brother Feng and Chang'e and rushed out of the laboratory. Chen Dongqing was the only one that Lin Yi didn't need to worry about. After all, he was an early-stage profound ascension expert. Even if the entire base exploded, it might not be able to hurt him. However, Chang'e and Dafeng were still unable to withstand such damage. 58. The cold electronic voice announced the time of the final explosion at a uniform speed. Lin Yi's divine sense swept across the entire base. He had already discovered the location of the submarine dock that was normally used by the center. The only problem was, could he activate the submarine in time? The laboratory was located in the middle of the base, while the dock was at the very edge of the base. With Lin Yi's speed, it would probably take him 20 seconds to reach there, leaving 30 seconds to activate the submarine and leave. The problem was that when Lin Yi was an assassin, the submarine piloting skills he had learned were already outdated. The center's latest model of submarine was even more advanced than the current world's most advanced ones, so he might not be able to start it. 57. Lin Yi gritted his teeth and still brought Chang'e and Dafeng to the direction of the dock. Chen Dongqing followed closely behind Lin Yi. Previously, Lin Yi used his primordial spirit to penetrate the wall, but now that he was bringing people, he couldn't do that anymore. Therefore, the dock was the best choice to go out. Even if Lin Yi didn't know how to pilot this kind of submarine, he could only go there. Dafeng, do you know how to pilot the center's submarine? Lin Yi remembered that Dafeng was also a high-ranking member of the base, so he asked casually. If he knew how to pilot it, it would be much easier. With the two of them working together, it would be much easier to pilot the submarine. Otherwise, even if they left the base, they wouldn't be able to return to land. Not to mention the impact of the depth of thousands of meters. Without the submarine, they would probably be trapped at sea. Yes, boss, I will. Dafeng shouted loudly, afraid that Lin Yi couldn't hear him clearly. Lin Yi was overjoyed. It seemed that there was always a way. 40. There were only 40 seconds left before the explosion, and Lin Yi and the other three had arrived at the dock of the submarine. Along the way, Lin Yi used the super alchemic firebomb to open the way and rushed in a straight line. He really didn't waste any time and finally got a few more seconds of buffer. Boss, it will take at least 30 seconds to start and leave. We must get to the control room immediately. Dafeng was also anxious. Who would be willing to die if they could live? Seemed that there was enough time, but it was also very tight. Lin Yi nodded to show that he understood. He appeared on the hatch of a submarine like lightning and reached out to open the hatch. As long as he entered, his chances of escaping would greatly increase. But just as Lin Yi's hand touched the door, it slid open on its own, and a dozen or so lasers shot out from within. Lin Yi was shocked. He transformed into his primordial spirit state and avoided the sudden attack. What's going on? Chen Dongqing's expression changed drastically. As he asked, he had already jumped up and used his fingers as a sword, shooting more than 10 sword qi into the hatch. Like Lin Yi, he had scanned these submarines with his divine sense, but he didn't find any enemies hiding on them. He felt a little baffled when he was suddenly attacked. The sword qi that Chen Dongqing shot out was like a clay ox entering the sea after entering the hatch. Didn't even make a splash. Lin Yi carefully scanned again with his divine sense and found that the automatic defense weapon in the submarine had been activated. It was probably because he had a problem with the way the hatch was opened, but he didn't have time to care about this now. A bolt of lightning was enough to deal with these defensive weapons. However, with this pause, the countdown had reached 38 seconds. 2 seconds had been wasted in vain. After dealing with the defense system at the hatch, Lin Yi was about to let Dafeng enter the submarine to start it first. However, he discovered that 20 to 30 biohumans had woken up from the sealed metal cabin and quickly came to the entrance to ambush. Before they came out of the metal cabin, Lin Yi's divine sense couldn't detect them. It was too late now. 35 seconds. Chapter 57-33. Genius in 1 second. Remember Love Go? Talk. Net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Let's go out. Lin Yi made a prompt decision and stopped thinking about the submarine. If they entered the submarine but could not leave the base in the end, then they would really be looking for a coffin to sleep in. Although there would be trouble after leaving the base without the submarine, it was better than not being able to escape. Chen Dongqing naturally did not have any objections. He did whatever Lin Yi said. As for Chang'e and Big Brother Dafeng, Lin Yi directly jumped into the reservoir where the submarine was docked. This was the only place in the base with seawater. After opening the partition, they could enter the bottom of the sea. If it was somewhere else, even if Lin Yi could break through the wall, he would be blocked by the endless seawater from the bottom of the sea for a while. 30 seconds. Lin Yi and the other three dived into the water. With the help of the directional explosion of the superfire bomb, they blew up the submarine's gate and swam smoothly into the deep sea. As soon as they left the base, Lin Yi took Chang'e and Big Brother Dafeng to the surface at full speed. With the protection of his divine sense field, the two of them would not have any problems. However, the base below suddenly exploded. There were still 30 seconds, but the explosion happened just like that. Bastard, they even tampered with the countdown to the explosion. Big Brother Dafeng cursed in the force field. Fortunately, Lin Yi did not insist on entering the submarine just now. Otherwise, he would have been buried in the base at this time. In that case, it was all thanks to the automatic defense system on the submarine. Without this system, Big Brother Dafeng would have tried to start the submarine now. Lin Yi breathed out in relief as well. The Jade Space had given him a warning when the biohumans appeared, but it wasn't strong enough to be fatal. He didn't think much of it, and abandoning the submarine was a decision he made based on his judgment. He didn't think that he'd be able to avoid the explosion just like that. The explosion of the entire base was not fatal to Lin Yi, but it was hard to say for Chang'e and Brother Dafeng. They were lucky to be able to escape the base. The explosion of the base produced a strong shock wave and shock wave. The entire seabed seemed to be shaking slightly. With this force, Lin Yi took Chang'e and Chen Dongqing and rushed to the surface of the sea like a rocket. During this process, ordinary people's lungs would explode due to the change in water pressure. However, Big Brother Feng and Chang'e were also cultivators, so they naturally did not have to worry about the problems caused by water pressure. This is bad. Lin Yi's divine sense had been paying close attention to the situation of the explosion behind them. The water pressure would not be dangerous, but the volcanic belt at the bottom of the sea was enough to put them in danger. The dormant volcanic belt at the bottom of the sea became active because of the explosion of the base. In an instant, two volcanoes spewed out scarlet magma from the bottom of the sea. Even the seawater could not cool down this kind of explosion. Lovego Small Senekalani was shocked. He gritted his teeth and desperately floated up with the force field behind him. The volcanic belt at the bottom of the sea began to erupt continuously. The energy gathered was extremely terrifying. After mixing with the power of the base's explosion, a large area of blazing white superflames appeared. This type of flame was a weapon that could deal enough damage to Lin Yi's primordial spirit. The glasses had only used it for defense after researching it, and hadn't been able to launch a single successful attack until his death. It was only when the base self-destructed that it became the strongest attack of all. In just an instant, Lin Yi and Chen Dongqing felt the temperature of the seawater they were in rise sharply, almost reaching the level of boiling. Chang'e and Brother Dafeng did not feel much because they had Lin Yi's protection. It turned out that burning the sky and boiling the sea was not a joke. Chen Dongqing was fine. His physical body was also considered strong. Coupled with the defense of his true qi, he could still move freely without being directly engulfed by the super flames. Lin Yi's situation was quite bad. The super flames did not directly burn his body, but just the aftermath had already caused his primordial spirit to show signs of melting. He also had to divide his divine sense to form a force field barrier to protect Chang'e and Brother Dafeng. In an instant, the consumption increased rapidly. Even he did not know how long he could last. If he gave up Chang'e and Brother Dafeng, Lin Yi could easily escape. However, if he did this, Lin Yi would not be himself. Not to mention Chang'e, even if it was Brother Dafeng, he would never give up. The only good news was that with the addition of the underwater volcano, the shock wave of the explosion became stronger. The speed at which Lin Yi and the other three rose also doubled. In the blink of an eye, the four of them were pushed out of the sea by the flames and rushed into the sky. The blue sea and blue sky constantly changed in Lin Yi's eyes. The damn white flames followed closely behind Lin Yi, not letting up at all. The surface of the sea that Lin Yi and the other three had rushed out of had completely disappeared, leaving only a large amount of water vapor that continued to evaporate in the white flames. The huge amount of seawater that was thousands of meters deep and had a radius of more than 4 kilometers had been completely burned. From the sky, it looked like a bottomless sinkhole that led straight to hell. Lin Yi's consciousness was slightly blurred. This was something that had never happened since he condensed his primordial spirit. It was probably because the residual energy of the volcano and the superflame was too powerful after fusing, and the damage to him was beyond his expectations. After barely dispelling the dizziness, Lin Yi activated the 3 appearances of the Cloud Dragon and moved continuously with Chang'e and Dafeng. At the same time, he gave Chen Dongcheng, who was in the air, a kick and sent him flying. If he could, Lin Yi really wanted to sing, "I'll send you off 1,000 miles away." Unfortunately, his kick could only barely send Chen Dongcheng 2 or 3 kilometers away from the range of the deep sinkhole on the sea. The place where he landed was at least seawater, although it was boiling. As for Lin Yi, he used the recoil force of this kick and the displacement of the 3 appearances of the Cloud Dragon to forcibly pull the 2 burdens in the opposite direction, avoiding the blazing white superflame that soared into the sky below. "Big brother Lin, are you okay?" Chang'e noticed that Lin Yi's expression was extremely ugly and could not help but ask with concern. Although they avoided the superflame head-on, a trace of the aftermath on the side still caused Lin Yi's divine sense field barrier to fluctuate violently. If he had not desperately protected it, Chang'e and brother Dafeng would have fallen directly into the sinkhole. Chapter 57-34. At this moment, big brother Dafeng, who was originally loyal to Lin Yi, swore that he would never betray Lin Yi in this life. If Lin Yi needed it, he would definitely return his life to Lin Yi. Lin Yi's face was pale and faintly translucent. This was a sign that his divine sense had been consumed too much, and his spirit was severely injured. "I'm fine, you don't have to worry. But after reaching the sea, you have to protect yourselves. I may not be able to take care of you." Lin Yi smiled indifferently. He did not seem to care about the current predicament. "Boss Lin Yi, don't worry about me. Throw me down and save your strength." Big brother Dafeng shouted eagerly. At this time, even if Lin Yi threw him into the heaven flame, he would not have any complaints. Lin Yi smiled slightly and shook his head gently. He did not speak. He was now falling in a parabola with the 2 of them, which happened to be in the opposite direction of Chen Dongcheng. When they fell into the sea, they would be surrounded by boiling seawater. However, Lin Yi knew very well that the explosion of the heaven flame would not last forever. When the heaven flame disappeared, the surrounding seawater would fill up the huge pit. In the sea, it would be a new tsunami. Lin Yi wanted to continue protecting the 2 of them, but his primordial spirit wasn't enough to maintain this force field barrier. Fortunately, Dafeng and Chang'e weren't weak. They wouldn't be crushed by this huge wave in a short period of time. "Remember, if we get separated in the sea, don't panic. When the huge wave disappears, stay on the surface of the sea and don't sink. I will find you," Lin Yi calmly exhorted. He wanted to fix the 2 of them by his side, but the weakness in his spirit made him unable to care too much. A spiritual knowledge fruit was swallowed by Lin Yi, and he began to refine it with all his strength. Using the spiritual knowledge fruit to replenish the consumption of spiritual knowledge was definitely a waste of God's gift. But Lin Yi had no other way now. The remaining 2 spiritual knowledge tumors that had not been dealt with showed signs of instability at this time. If Lin Yi could not control these 2 spiritual knowledge tumors, this secular world sea might become his burial ground. If Lan Xiaoru, who self-destructed, was reborn and knew that Lin Yi would die in such a way, she would probably look up to the sky and laugh 3 times. Seeing that they were about to fall into the boiling sea, Lin Yi retracted the spiritual knowledge force field and used his true qi to add a layer of defense to the 2 of them. He shouted, "Don't stay here. Try to swim to the periphery. Stay awake. If you are involved in the whirlpool, remember to swim against the current." Before he finished speaking, the 3 of them fell into the water one after another. Compared to the flames, the boiling seawater of more than 100 degrees Celsius was no threat at all. The 3 of them could easily resist it. Chang'e and big brother Dafeng did not dare to neglect. After falling into the water, They desperately swam out. After all, they were two experts and their speed was quite fast. Linny wanted to transform into his spirit state and float in the air. If Chang'e and Big Brother Dafeng were in any danger, he could rescue them in time. However, a burst of dizziness made Linny give up this idea. After looking in the right direction, he used his true qi to escape from this dangerous area. Most of his mind was used to refine the spiritual knowledge fruit and suppress the two spiritual knowledge tumors. After a few breaths, the three of them were 2 to 3 kilometers away from the huge pit. At this time, the explosion of the flames finally weakened. Although the heat at the bottom of the sea was still terrifying, it could not maintain the vacuum area that was thousands of meters deep. The surrounding seawater began to pour down violently, and the hot water vapor directly gathered into thick clouds in the sky. In a short period of time, the embryonic form of a storm was formed. Linny and the others tried their best to escape, but under the huge slope of the seawater, they still could not help but flow back with the current. The pulling force was getting stronger and stronger. Even Linny's true qi could no longer resist it. If he wanted to get rid of it, Linny could only transform into his spirit state and float in the air. Unfortunately, he did not dare to make the slightest change now. If he was careless and caused the spiritual knowledge tumor to riot, it would really be over. After the seawater poured down and filled half of the space, the violent collision formed a huge whirlpool. The monstrous waves were just the ripples at the edge. The four people in the center began to spin and fall down involuntarily. Chang'e and Dafeng Bro, on the other hand, remembered Lin Yi's warning. They wanted to go against the current, but in front of the power of nature, their strength was insignificant. Their desperate struggle only delayed them for a few breaths of time. Chan Dongcheng, who had flown in the opposite direction just now, was countless times stronger than the two of them. However, this guy was not good at swimming. In this whirlpool, his performance was not as good as Chang'e and Big Brother Dafeng. When he passed by Chang'e and Big Brother Dafeng for the second time, he did not even have the strength to struggle. Linny wanted to do something, but he was like a clay bodhisattva crossing the river. He could not even protect himself. The only way was to go with the flow. Fortunately, the super flame had slowly subsided. If it was just the whirlpool tsunami and storm, it would not take their lives for a while. After this period, there would be a chance of survival. Now that he thought about it, it was really lucky that he did not get entangled in the submarine just now. Not to mention the deceptive setting of the 30-second false report. Even if he successfully left the base in the submarine, under this kind of explosion, it was likely that he would be directly vaporized by the super flame at the bottom of the sea. He might not even be able to survive in this situation. "You guys take care of yourselves," Linny said in his heart with a wry smile. His dizziness was getting worse, but he knew that once he really fainted, the divine sense cancer would immediately explode. Therefore, even if he died, he could not faint. At least before suppressing these two divine sense cancer, he absolutely could not faint. This huge whirlpool lasted for an unknown amount of time. Lin Yi's mind was completely immersed in suppressing the divine sense cancer, so he did not care too much. Anyway, he was an essence spirit, so he would not drown in the sea. Between floating and sinking, the seabed and the sea surface went back and forth several times. After the storm and tsunami, Linny finally succeeded in suppressing the two divine sense cancer and opened his eyes with a tired look. Chapter 57:35. It was simply impossible to expect that the four of them would not be separated in such a violent environment, so Linny was not disappointed, and extended his spiritual awareness to search for traces of them. However, the next moment Linny knew that the problem was serious. His spiritual awareness could only extend for less than a kilometer. Obviously, the previous flame had caused his consumption to reach a terrifying level. Although a spiritual awareness fruit had been swallowed, most of it was used to suppress the tumor of spiritual awareness. The remaining small half was used to make up for part of the consumption, and there was still a part that had not been refined. So at this time, even if Linny continued to swallow the spiritual awareness fruit, there would not be any better effect. Damn it! With this level of spiritual awareness search, it is impossible to find the three of them in the vast sea. I only hope that Chen Dongqing can be okay. The range of his spiritual awareness should be large enough. As long as he is not dead, it is possible to find the three of us. Linny shook his head with a wry smile. He had not encountered such an embarrassing situation for a long time. Since there was no way to effectively search with spiritual awareness, Linny could only transform into his essence soul state and float on the sea surface. It was faster to search with his eyes. Fortunately, Linny had just flown a short distance when he found a black spot floating on the sea surface 3 or 4 kilometers away. After flying closer, he confirmed that it was Chang'e. Linny was surprised and happy. He was happy that he had finally found Chang'e. He was surprised that Chang'e was still in a coma and her breathing was extremely weak. Linny's essence soul was weak, but there was no problem with his true qi. With the jade pendant space as his backing, true qi was never something he needed to worry about. After quickly holding Chang'e's palm, Linny transferred his omnipotent true qi to check Chang'e's condition while treating her injuries. Fortunately, there is no fatal injury, just a collapse. Linny heaved a sigh of relief, but he was also a little shocked. If he hadn't discovered it early, the collapsed Chang'e might have drowned in the sea just like that. After a short while, Chang'e spat out a few mouthfuls of seawater and slowly woke up. Seeing Linny in front of her, she was overjoyed and said, "Big brother Lin, it's great that you're fine." As he spoke, he reached out and wrapped his arms around Linny's neck, hanging onto Linny's body. Linny smiled and patted Chang'e's back. "We're fine. By the way, where are Dafeng and Chen Dongcheng?" Chang'e remembered that she still had 2 companions and immediately let go of Linny. She looked around and asked. After this thrilling experience of going through thick and thin together, Chang'e felt a sense of familiarity towards these 2 strange companions, so she was naturally concerned about their safety. Linny shook his head and said, "I haven't found them yet, but they should be fine." Linny wasn't talking nonsense. The weakest among the 3 was Chang'e. Since even Chang'e could be safe and sound, how could the 2 guys fall like this? The problem was, how could Linny find the 2 of them in the vast sea? Chang'e was here, so Linny certainly couldn't leave her alone and fly around looking for them. Moreover, with Chang'e's strength, he didn't know how long she could persist in the sea. In the absence of a ship, Linny didn't know how to bring her back to the shore. Before this, even if Linny transformed into the state of spirit, it was not a big deal to fly with a person, but now it was definitely not possible. If he flew, the spiritual awareness tumor that he had just suppressed would cause trouble again. Linny also thought about flying back to the shore to find a ship to save Chang'e, but he didn't know where he was now. The range of spiritual awareness was not as far as the range of the naked eye. If he flew in the wrong direction instead of flying to the nearest shore, he would start a journey around the earth. When he came back, it would really be too late. Unfortunately, Linny's mobile phone was not kept in the jade pendant space. He didn't know where it had sunk to in the whirlpool and tsunami. Otherwise, he could try to make a phone call or something. "Big brother Lin, do you want to find the 2 of them?" "It doesn't matter. I will wait here. You find the 2 of them first." Chang'e knew that Linny was worried about her, and he wanted to find the 2 people, so she smiled and asked Linny to find them first. Linny thought about it and could only do so. After Chang'e woke up, there was no problem floating in the sea for a period of time. If the 2 guys also fainted because of exhaustion, they might really drown in the sea. Whether it was Brother Dafeng in the Foundation Establishment stage or Chen Dongcheng in the Mysterious Ascension stage, drowning in the ordinary sea was a shameful thing. They would not feel at ease even if they died. Just as he was about to nod and agree, Linny suddenly had a flash of inspiration. The mobile phone was not kept in the jade pendant space, but he kept one thing in the jade pendant space. Languza's communication bead. When he was in the small Jianghu of primitive times, Languza gave this communication bead to Linny so that it was convenient to contact him. Later, Languza used it once when he came to the Green Cloud sect of the North Island to pick up Linny to flood Dragon Island. Then Linny threw it in the jade pendant space and never took it out. After all, Languza followed Linny like a tail every day. Why would he use the communication bead? What's more, after coming to the secular world, Languza preferred to play with his mobile phone. He probably forgot that there was such a bead with Linny. After taking out the communication bead, Linny took a deep breath and immersed the bead in the sea. To be honest, Linny was also a little nervous. This might be the last chance to save Chang'e, Brother Dafeng, and the others. Linny could fly back, but he would never leave Chang'e and the others alone. After all, The seawater of the boundless sea was somewhat different from the seawater of the secular world. This was not a place with abundant spiritual energy like the small Jianghu of primitive times. Linny was not sure if this communication bead could still work. But in the next second, Linny was relieved because the communication bead shone faintly in the seawater. Then Languza's shadow appeared in front of Lin Yi. "Boss, where have you been? We were so worried." As soon as Languza appeared, he asked anxiously, "Oh, it's a long story. I went for a ride on the sea for a long time." Linny said with a smile. The center really let Linny go for a long time on the sea before. This was not nonsense. "Boss, have you rescued sister-in-law Yi? Do you want me to help?" "Don't worry, I Languza can definitely kill them all," Languza said aggressively as he stroked his arm. Chapter 57:36. "No problem. Boss, wait for me. I will be there soon." After that, Languza cut off the communication. Linny smiled and said to Chang'e, "Don't worry. With Languza here, we will all be fine." Chang'e asked curiously, "Brother Lin, is Languza stronger than you?" In her opinion, Lin Yi was the most powerful person in the world. Languza was obviously Lin Yi's little brother. How could Languza easily do what Lin Yi couldn't? Even if Lin Yi was injured, Chang'e didn't think that Lin Yi was inferior to Languza. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "It's not about who is more powerful than who. It's just that if Languza is in the sea, there are very few things that he can't do. You will know when he comes over later. Well, you wait here for a while. I will fly up and look for Defeng and Chen Dongcheng. Maybe I can see them." Of course, Chang'e had no objection. Lin Yi once again transformed into his spirit form and flew hundreds of meters into the sky, overlooking the surrounding sea. Unfortunately, he couldn't find Defeng and Chen Dongcheng. However, on the distant sea level, there was a white line approaching quickly. "No way. Is that Languza?" Lin Yi said with some surprise. "How long has it been? Languza can rush over?" After thinking about it, Lin Yi felt that it was normal. After all, Languza was already a real sea dragon, a genetically mutated sea dragon. His strength had reached the late stage of mysterious ascension. After changing back to his original body, Languza's speed in the sea could definitely reach several times the speed of sound. It was understandable that he could rush over so quickly. In the blink of an eye, that white line was already closing in. As expected, it was Languza's true form. He was a dragon that was more than 10 meters long. Just the waves that he had stirred up were more than 20 meters tall. "Boss, I'm coming." Before he arrived, Languza's loud voice had already sounded. Chang'e looked at the approaching sea dragon with her mouth agape. She suddenly felt that she might be having an absurd dream. Otherwise, how could she see such a legendary sea dragon? Although he was a heaven stage cultivator, Chang'e had never heard of a real sea dragon in the world. Lin Yi flew to the sea and said with a smile, "You came just in time. I don't know where those two guys are. Can you find them?" While talking, Lin Yi pulled Chang'e onto Languza's broad back. In the endless sea, Languza was still a sea dragon. Lin Yi felt good riding on his back. Now that he had evolved into a sea dragon, it was even more comfortable. "Boss, don't worry. In this small pond, it's too easy to find two people," Languza said proudly. Compared to the dangerous endless sea, the ocean of the secular world was indeed only worthy of Languza's evaluation of a small pond. Lin Yi listened to him and was completely relieved. He immediately fell on Languza's back and had a good rest. A trace of worry flashed in Chang'e's eyes. She began to feel that Lin Yi's current state was really not very good. Thinking of Lin Yi's instructions before falling into the sea, Chang'e estimated that Lin Yi was now seriously injured. Unfortunately, Chang'e couldn't do anything for Lin Yi. If Sun Jingyi was here, perhaps she could use her cultivation method to help Lin Yi. Of course, what Chang'e didn't know was that Lin Yi's spirit was injured now. Even Sun Jingyi's cultivation method couldn't help him. After waiting for Lin Yi and Chang'e to sit down, Languza put his big head into the sea and opened his mouth to roar. The sound directly set off a huge wave, but fortunately, it immediately subsided. 10 seconds later, Languza raised his head and said with a smile, "Boss, the sea beasts here are really weak. They don't even deserve to be called sea beasts. Moreover, their intelligence is very low. Fortunately, they can help me find two people. This is a simple matter. I already have a position for them. Sea dragons were indeed sea dragons. As long as they were in the sea, they were the absolute king of the race. Linny smiled and nodded. Then hurry up and get them back. It's easy to get into trouble if it takes too long. Okay, boss and sister-in-law, you sit tight. I'm coming out. Languza responded with a loud laugh. He arched his body and shot out like a sharp arrow. Chang'e could clearly hear a sonic boom. This fellow had actually broken through the sonic barrier and activated it. In a few breaths, Languza arrived at Big Brother Defeng's location. Big Brother Defeng had seen Languza's sea dragon appearance, but he had never seen the evolved sea dragon, so he was shocked at first. Languza was very satisfied with this. He thought that he could continue to play like this next time. Linny saw that Big Brother Defeng was awake and greeted him with a smile. This guy was really tenacious. Other than being a little embarrassed, his spirit was very good. When Languza came over, Big Brother Defeng was still swimming quickly. Obviously, he was looking for Linny and the others. As for Chan Dongcheng, Linny didn't know whether to laugh or cry after seeing him. Chan Dongcheng was the most powerful among the three, but this disappointing one looked the most miserable. Not only was he unconscious, but his stomach was also bulging. It seemed that he drank a lot of seawater. Fortunately, Chan Dongcheng was strong. He protected his heart with qi, so he didn't become a joke of a profound ascending stage master drowning in the secular world. Big Brother Defeng quickly picked up Chan Dongcheng and made him spit out the seawater in his stomach. Linny used qi to treat him a little, and Chan Dongcheng woke up. Languza, let's go back. Finally, all three of them were found, and Chang'e was also rescued from the center. Linny smiled and patted Languza's body. His heart was relieved, but suddenly, he felt a wave of dizziness. His body leaned back and he actually fainted. Linny didn't know how long he lost consciousness. When he regained consciousness, he found himself in the space of the jade pendant, and there was someone beside him who had been watching him. Jiao Lao? You appeared again. Linny was slightly taken aback. He sat up with a smile and waved to Jiao Yazi. Jiao Yazi laughed and scolded. What do you mean again? I've always been here. It's just that if you leave the secular world, I will disappear. When you return to the secular world, I can appear again. Chapter 57:37. Is it because I don't want to talk to you? Isn't it because you haven't entered the space of the jade pendant and haven't thought of me at all? Jiao Yazi looked at Linny with a smile that wasn't a smile. It sounded very reasonable. Linny was speechless. After thinking about it carefully, it seemed to be the case. After returning from the ancient small world, he really didn't think of Jiao Yazi because he couldn't contact Jiao Yazi. Linny was used to it. Jiao Yazi actually didn't care. Before Linny opened the space of the jade pendant, he was used to being alone. He was just joking with Linny. Speaking of which, the speed of your growth has far exceeded my expectations. In the past I could still give you some help and advice, but now there is really nothing I can give you. So when you return to the secular world, there is no need for me to say anything. Jiao Yazi said with a smile. Then without waiting for Linny to speak, he pointed at Linny's forehead with a straight face and said, But this time you really disappoint me. Linny was startled and said, Jiao Lao, what do you mean? What do I mean? You still have the nerve to ask me what I mean. Don't tell me you haven't realized your own state? Jiao Yazi reprimanded mercilessly. In the past, when Linny was still a weak rookie, Jiao Yazi was not so strict. Linny slightly frowned. Jiao Yazi's expression was obviously not to scare him, so Linny immediately used his divine sense to explore the space of the jade pendant. He wanted to find out what was going on. However, Lin Yi's divine sense couldn't explore the space of the jade pendant. It could only wander in this side of the world. To put it bluntly, he had completely lost contact with the outside world. Jiao Lao, how did this happen? How long have I been unconscious? Linny knew that things were getting serious, but he still kept his cool. In response to Lin Yi's question, Jiao Yazi only snorted and said, Your strength is beyond this realm. I can't understand it, so how would I know what happened to you? But what I can tell you is that you've been unconscious for 10 whole days. Linny sucked in a breath of cold air. He thought that he had been unconscious for 1 or 2 hours at most. He did not expect that he had been unconscious for 10 days. One had to know that Linny himself was a primordial spirit. Now that his primordial spirit was in the space of the jade pendant, didn't that mean that the primordial spirit in the mortal world had completely disappeared? Jiao Lao, in front of you, no matter how strong I am still a junior. Can we talk nicely? Lin Yi said with a bitter smile. If he wanted to figure out the current situation, only Jiao Yazi could help him. Jiao Yazi suddenly smiled and shouted, "Do you think I'm angry with you? How is that possible? I'm just expressing my disappointment to you. Kid, you don't know how to cherish yourself, do you? This time you almost had your soul scattered, do you know that? If you hadn't eaten a divine knowledge fruit before and had not refined a part of it, you would have been dead by now. Your primordial spirit has left your body and you still dare to play like this. Do you really think that you are invincible in the world?" Lin Yi was a little confused. After listening to Jiao Yazi's words, he felt a little scared. It turned out that he was really close to dying. Thanks to the divine knowledge fruit that he had eaten before, he was able to preserve his last chance of survival. It was also too smooth before. Lin Yi moved with his primordial spirit. Except for a short period of time when he just came back, it was basically successful. Therefore, he himself had forgotten that the primordial spirit was actually very weak. After being attacked, it needed to bear 10 times or even 100 times more damage than the physical body. It was quite not easy for him to still be alive now. "Jiao Lao, I know I was wrong. This time I was careless. I don't know what is my situation now. How can I leave the space of the jade pendant?" Lin Yi obediently admitted his mistake. Anyway, Jiao Yazi was a teacher and a friend. In front of him, Lin Yi did not have the self-awareness of a strong person. Instead, he was more like a junior. Jiao Yazi snorted twice. It was probably because he had vented most of the depression in his heart. This was also because he was worried about Lin Yi. If it was someone else, Jiao Yazi would not care about their life and death. "You want to escape after listening to my nagging? Let me tell you, it's not that easy." Although Jiao Yazi's anger had subsided a lot, he still muttered a few words and then said solemnly, "Kid, you are really lucky. Originally, your primordial spirit would have completely collapsed after you lost consciousness. But because there was a remnant of the divine knowledge fruit, your primordial spirit's origin was protected. The space of the jade pendant also tried its best to pull you in, so you did not die immediately." "My primordial spirit has dissipated?" Lin Yi's heart shook. This was the news he was most concerned about and most unwilling to hear. Now, the strength of Lin Yi's primordial spirit in the space of the jade pendant was not even 6 to 7% of its peak. Even if he left the space of the jade pendant, the strength of Lin Yi's primordial spirit would be greatly reduced. But Jiao Yazi finally gave him a piece of good news. "No, your primordial spirit is still in the outside world. I have to say, kid, your luck is really heaven-defying. Other than the divine knowledge fruit, you can also use the divine knowledge grass root to refine your primordial spirit. Plus, you have always had perfect breakthroughs. Your primordial spirit is already far stronger than the same level cultivator. The degree of your primordial spirit's solidification is not inferior to the body of an ordinary cultivator. When you lost consciousness, at least you left your primordial spirit in the outside world." Lin Yi immediately let out a sigh of relief. As long as his primordial spirit was still there, his strength wouldn't decline too much. More importantly, with his primordial spirit outside, he was only unconscious and not disappeared. At least the people in the outside world would have some psychological comfort. Otherwise, if Lin Yi suddenly disappeared, Sun Jingyi, Su Shihan and the others would probably go crazy. "Jiao Lao, what should I do now? Can you let me communicate with the primordial spirit in the outside world?" Lin Yi tried again but still couldn't connect to the outside world. He could only ask Jiao Yazi for help. Jiao Yazi shrugged and said helplessly, "I don't have a way, you have to deal with this yourself. Hurry up and cultivate well. Maybe one day you can find a way to communicate with the primordial spirit in the outside world. Don't be lazy." Lin Yi was speechless. It seemed like Jiao Yazi really couldn't be counted on. If he wanted to go out, the only way was to recover the strength of his primordial spirit. Chapter 57:38. There was no other way. He could only cultivate, but he didn't know how long it would take before he could communicate with the spirit in the outside world. Lin Yi sighed in his heart. He didn't want to waste any more time. He sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate his divine sense. 10 days ago, Lin Yi suddenly fainted. Although it made Chang'e panic, Languza, Chan Dongcheng, and Big Brother Feng were already used to Lin Yi's invincibility. They just thought that Lin Yi consumed a lot of energy and would wake up after a short rest, so they didn't care at all. They even comforted Chang'e. Languza's speed was extremely fast. In just a few minutes, he had already returned to the coast. He found a hidden place and transformed back into his human form. After putting on his clothes, Big Brother Feng had already gotten a business car and drove them to Lanmi. Chang'e's concert tour was interrupted. Fortunately, it wasn't too long, so they could still continue with the original schedule. However, Lanmi and Madok were too late. They could only make an announcement to reopen it later. They would first complete Barini's and Lenton's concerts according to the schedule, then arrange for these two stops. After returning to Lanmi, Lin Yi still didn't seem to be awake. After Languza checked, he didn't find any problems with Lin Yi, so he let Chang'e and Su Shihan go do their things first. When Lin Yi woke up, he would inform them. The next day, Kong Xiaobo chartered a plane to fly back to China with everyone. He sent Lin Yi back to the villa in Songshan to recuperate, and then tried to find a way to inform Lin Dongfang and Aunt Qing. After all, Lin Yi hadn't woken up for more than a day. They were already a little uncertain. Languza and Chan Dongcheng didn't expect that on the day before they returned, Xue Jianfeng's flying saucer quietly landed in a remote corner on the outskirts of Songshan. It was a large chemical plant. Since its establishment, no one knew what was produced inside, and there were no signs of human habitation within 100 miles. After Xue Jianfeng's flying saucer turned on the invisibility device, he was not afraid of being seen. In the middle of the chemical plant, the roof of an ordinary factory silently slid to two sides, revealing a huge gap. There were circles of lights inside as a guide, going deep into the underground of the factory. Xue Jianfeng's flying saucer hovered above the gap before slowly descending. This was an emergency escape route automatically arranged by the system. In fact, Xue Jianfeng himself had no idea where he was flying to. "Hello, I'm Little Pure from Central Songshan Base. Welcome to the two of you." After the flying saucer came to a stop, the cabin door opened, and Xue Jianfeng and Zhaolong saw the people waiting for them outside. Zhaolong paused after hearing Xiaochun's introduction. Songshan Base? Could it be in Songshan? That's right. This is the outskirts of Songshan City. In terms of organization, this is the second base of the core in the secular world. Xiaochun nodded with a smile before turning sideways. "Please follow me. The person in charge of our base is already waiting for you in the meeting room." Xue Jianfeng quickly caught up with a smile. "Xiaochun, may I know who the person in charge of the second base is? I used to follow Dr. Glasses and Miss Lan, but I'm not familiar with the person in charge of your base. Before we meet, we should get to know each other." Zhaolong didn't say anything as Xue Jianfeng pushed him to the back. After all, Xue Jianfeng's strength was there for all to see, and it was thanks to him that he was able to escape from the sacred center. Strictly speaking, Zhaolong's connection with the core was mostly due to Kong Mingming. Since he wasn't as good as Xue Jianfeng in every aspect, he naturally wouldn't want to compete with him. Xiaochun giggled. "You'll see the person in charge soon. You'll know when you see him. There's no point in talking about it now. Come." As she spoke, Xiaochun brought the two of them onto a maglev scooter. Once they were stable, the scooter started, and in a minute or so, they arrived at the meeting room of the second base. "We're here. You two go in." Xiaochun turned around and waved at Xue Jianfeng and Zhaolong. She left immediately after they got off. Xue Jianfeng knocked on the door. The doctor was dead, but the poison in his body was still there. Before he could detoxify the poison, Xue Jianfeng had to show enough respect to the person in charge of the base. Otherwise, with his temper, he would have pushed the door open a long time ago. "Come in." A young man's voice came from the meeting room. Xue Jianfeng pushed the door open with a smile. "Hello. I'm Xue Jianfeng from the Sacred Center, the first base. May I know your name?" Xue Jianfeng didn't have to bow and scrape, but he was still very polite. The young man sat on the sofa with no intention of standing up. He pointed at the chair beside him. "Have a seat. I'm the person in charge here, Zhang Wen. You can call me Master One. I've heard about what happened in the first base. It wasn't easy for you two to escape, so follow me from now on." "Ah, it's Master One. It's an honor to meet you. I, Xue Jianfeng, will be in your care from now on." Shui Jianfeng laughed as he expressed his willingness to follow Jiang Wen. He sat down without any hesitation. He could tell that Jiang Wen was just a guy a little stronger than a normal person. His strength wasn't worth mentioning at all. He subconsciously looked down on Jiang Wen. Xiaolong didn't sit. He said with a face full of surprise. Master Wan, I know you. You're one of the 4 young masters of Songshan. My name is Xiaolong. You don't know this, but you've always been my idol. I didn't think that I'd be able to see you today. It's such an honor. I'm so excited to be able to see you often in the future and work for you. Jiang Wen's face lit up. He didn't think that he'd be able to meet a fan of his today. Ha ha ha, it's all in the past. Don't mention it. Jiang Wen waved his hand with a smile. His expression, however, seemed to be saying keep talking. On his forehead. Master Wan, you're wrong. As one of the 4 young masters of Songshan, you've become a legend. It's a shame that I haven't heard from you these past few years. Otherwise, I'd have come to you a long time ago. Xiaolong said seriously. He didn't feel like he was lying. Chapter 5739. Jiang Wen obviously liked this. He smiled and waved at Xiaolong. Come Kong, sit down and talk. I didn't think that you, the young master of Dr. Kang's house, would know me so well. Not bad, not bad. I just happen to be lacking a capable helper here. You can follow me from now on. Xiaolong was overjoyed. He didn't have much of a foundation in the center, and his only support was Kong Mingming, who went to Sky Class Island. Now that he had a connection with Jiang Wen, his status would change immediately. Thank you for your support, Master Wan. I, Kong, will do my best for you in the future. Xiaolong expressed his loyalty as he went over to refill Jiang Wen's teacup. He had already entered the role of an assistant. If Xiaolong knew that Jiang Wen's assistant had always been a scapegoat for him, who knew if he would still be so happy? Shui Jianfeng saw that Xiaolong got Jiang Wen's attention with just a few words, and he felt uneasy. He sat up straight and smiled. Master Wan, I'm the number 1 under the glasses doctor. Jiang Wen waved his hand and interrupted him. I understand, I'll let you know if there's anything. Right now, our base is in the process of reviving Miss Lan's clone. You don't need to do anything for now. We'll talk about it after it's done. You can go rest now. Shui Jianfeng was depressed. He didn't even want to hear what he had to say. He didn't think that after the glasses doctor's death, he, Shui Jianfeng, would be ignored like this. He couldn't even be compared to that weak chicken Xiaolong. No matter what, he, Shui Jianfeng, was still a profound ascension early-stage super expert. The fusion of the new medicine was very smooth. Even if he hadn't tried it before, he knew that he would recover quickly if he got injured in a fight. Master Wan told you to go rest first, so go rest first. I'll let you know if there's anything. Xiaolong turned to Shui Jianfeng. He was still calling him Master Shui before, but now he didn't even bother to call him by his name. Shui Jianfeng humphed and got up to leave bitterly. He wouldn't have put up with this if it weren't for the poison in his body. He didn't know if his gene cells, which could quickly recover from injuries, would be able to remove the toxin as well. It was a shame that he couldn't confirm this yet. Shui Jianfeng didn't want to offend Jiang Wen right now, but the glasses professor was still the best. If only the glasses professor could be reborn on one side. Jiang Wen was busy reviving Lan Xiaoru. On the other side, Lin Yi still hadn't woken up. It was already the 10th day. Kong Xiaobo and the others put down their work and gathered in the villa, waiting for Lin Yi to wake up. Unfortunately, in the current situation, it seemed that the possibility of another unconscious person in the villa was higher. No one knew that Lin Yi's consciousness had actually just woken up. However, he was in the space of the jade pendant and couldn't communicate with the outside world. So his Yuan Shen body was still in a state of deep sleep. Lin Yi practiced in the space of the jade pendant for a couple of hours, but there was no progress at all. The qi in the space of the jade pendant had no effect on Lin Yi's Yuan Shen and consciousness. But the spirit fruit and the spirit grass root were things that Lin Yi couldn't use. Even if they were right in front of him, he could only look at them. It was quite frustrating. He couldn't solidify his Yuan Shen body in the space of the jade pendant, so he couldn't use them. Jiao Lao, do you have any spiritual type arts that I can learn? Lin Yi turned to Zhao Yazi and asked, depressed. For a long time, Lin Yi had not systematically cultivated his spiritual awareness. When he was on the Heaven Stage Island, He mostly used his physical body to drive his spiritual awareness. After coming to the ancient small rivers and lakes, the improvement of his yuan shan mostly relied on the tempering of the spirit grassroot and the swallowing of the heaven-swallowing giant crocodile's yuan shan. There were not many people who really relied on their own cultivation. Of course, this was also related to the lack of a complete and high-level yuan shan and spiritual awareness cultivation method for Lin Yi. He also knew that it was unlikely that Zhao Yazi would have something in this area, so he just asked casually. Zhao Yazi smiled and said, "I have seen beggars, but I have never seen someone holding a golden bowl to beg for food. Are you stupid? Or stupid? Or stupid?" Lin Yi's forehead was full of black lines. Was there any difference? It seemed like Elder Zhao's resentment hadn't dissipated because he hadn't talked to him for too long. After Zhao Yazi laughed at Lin Yi, he said seriously, "You really don't know that you are in a treasure mountain. Don't you know that the heaven-stealing fortune battle art you are cultivating is a real top-level cultivation method? No, saying that it is a top-level cultivation method is underestimating the heaven-stealing fortune battle art. With this cultivation method, why do you still need to find a spiritual awareness cultivation method? The heaven-stealing fortune battle art can cultivate the yuan shan and spiritual awareness?" Lin Yi asked in surprise. He didn't think about this before, but now that Zhao Yazi mentioned it, he really felt that it was possible. For a long time, Lin Yi's yuan shan was stronger than cultivators of the same level. He originally thought that it was because of him, but now that he thought about it, he realized that it was probably because of the heaven-stealing fortune battle art. It was a shame that this art was incomplete, and even though he'd merged it with the art of dragon mastery to make up for the missing parts, he hadn't been able to properly analyze the rest of the art. Don't think that I don't know about your matters when I am in a deep sleep. Don't forget that we are connected. Once you return to the secular world, I will know everything you have experienced." Zhao Yazi narrowed his eyes and said faintly, "Although your growth is amazing, ask yourself, have you properly cultivated this heaven-defying cultivation method? I remember reminding you of the importance of this cultivation method before you entered the heavenly island." Lin Yi suddenly blushed with shame. Although Zhao Yazi didn't say it clearly, Lin Yi was very clear about what he was referring to. After arriving at the heavenly island, Lin Yi's improvement was indeed great, but not much of it was brought about by the heaven-stealing fortune battle art. More of it was the various opportunities that Lin Yi found, in addition to countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures, as well as his own tenacity that allowed him to reach this step. The heaven-stealing fortune battle art naturally played a role in this, but the proportion was really very small. If he casually changed a cultivation method, Lin Yi could still have the current achievements. At most he would be a little lacking in combat power. In this way, Lin Yi really underestimated the heaven-stealing fortune battle art. If he paid more attention to it, perhaps his strength could be a little stronger. Chapter 5740. If Zhao Yazi could always stay by Lin Yi's side, Lin Yi could obviously avoid a lot of detours. Although the ghost could also replace Zhao Yazi's role, it was still a spirit beast after all. It might not be able to know more about the human race than Zhao Yazi. It's good that you understand, go figure it out yourself. Zhao Yazi showed a gratified smile. His face had an expression that said that the child was worth teaching. In fact, he had just figured out these principles himself, otherwise, he would have told Lin Yi just now, and he wouldn't have to remind Lin Yi now. Zhao Yazi was also a bystander. The truth was very simple. It was not that Lin Yi couldn't think it through, the key was that he was in the game, and ignored too many details. Lin Yi sat cross-legged again, and began to carefully study and deduce the Heaven's Fortune battle art. Originally, this Heaven's Fortune battle art could only be cultivated to the nascent soul stage. The Will of Heaven was known as the first nascent soul stage cultivator, and he relied on this Heaven's Fortune battle art to achieve that. Unfortunately, the incomplete cultivation method could not help him advance further, and the new cultivation method that was integrated with the art of dragon mastery did not have this defect. It was just that at the beginning there was no detailed cultivation method. Only when Lin Yi reached this stage would this stage of cultivation method deduction be activated. After Lin Yi advanced to the profound ascension stage, he had not properly deduced the Heaven's Fortune battle art, and had been using the previous cultivation method. This was also what Zhao Yazi was most dissatisfied with. To put it more seriously, Lin Yi was not making progress. But in fact, Lin Yi still cared about his own strength, otherwise, it would be impossible for him to find opportunities everywhere and be able to advance to the profound ascension stage so quickly. Lin Yi, who was in the jade pendant space, began the process of cultivation and deduction. The primordial spirit in the villa still had no reaction, but on Heaven Stage Island, Lin Yi's main body showed some changes. Originally, Lin Yi had been sitting cross-legged and cultivating, but now he was lying down unknowingly, as if he had fallen asleep. His aura was also slowly converging. This change scared Tianchan and Sydney. How could this be? Wasn't everything fine before? Did something go wrong in the secular world? Shueli paced around anxiously, but she had no idea what she should do. Tianchan was calmer. After comforting Sydney, she said decisively, "Sydney, get someone to find Brother the Will of Heaven and Okuda Island Master. They are more familiar with soul projection, so they should know what happened." Sydney didn't know what to do, but after hearing Tianchan's words, she felt that it was very reasonable. She immediately agreed and rushed out. After Sydney left, Tianchan showed a worried look. She looked at Lin Yi and whispered, "Bad thing, you only know how to make people worry. You must be fine. Otherwise, I will kick you. Come back quickly." Lin Yi. After a while, the Will of Heaven and Okuda Island came to Tiandan Pavilion and checked on Lin Yi's condition. Then they looked at each other and shook their heads silently. "Brother, what happened to Lin Yi?" Tianchan couldn't maintain her calm anymore and asked anxiously. The Will of Heaven thought for a while and said, "Sister Tianchan, you don't have to worry. Lin Yi should be fine. Maybe it's because his soul projection has been going on for too long. It's far beyond the normal limit, so his body feels tired. He should lie down and rest for a while." Even though she was worried about Lin Yi, Tianchan couldn't help but laugh. How could there be such a big brother? He actually said that Lin Yi's body was tired and wanted to lie down for a while. This was ridiculous. It was normal for a strong cultivator to sit in seclusion for more than 10 years. How could Lin Yi lie down for such a reason? However, from what the Will of Heaven said, Lin Yi's body should be fine. So Tianchan and Sydney were slightly relieved. Okuda Island also said, "The Lin brothers are very healthy, and their chi and blood are extremely strong. There doesn't seem to be any problem. You can all rest assured. Maybe this is a sign that his soul is going to return. Let's wait and see." Tianchan quickly thanked him and said, "Thank you, Island Master Okuda. I'm really sorry to bother you when you're so busy." Okuda Island waved his hand and said, "You're treating me like an outsider. Brother Lin Yi and I are not outsiders. All right, enough with the pleasantries. Take care of him. I'll go back first." The Will of Heaven represented Tianchan and Sydney to send Okuda Island out. Then the two of them set up a soundproof barrier. Okuda Island took the lead and said, "Deputy Island Master, what do you think about Lin Yi's matter? There must be a problem." The Will of Heaven sighed. Just now, in front of Tianchan and Sydney, he didn't dare to say much. But now, he didn't have any scruples in front of Okuda Island. Okuda Island nodded and said, "Yes, although Lin Yi's chi and blood are strong, his momentum has begun to converge. This doesn't look like he's about to break through. Instead, it looks like his soul is injured. When the soul is projected, it won't cause any damage to the body. But if there's a problem with the projected soul, then the body that lost the soul will have a problem. This seems to be the case with Lin Yi." The Will of Heaven was silent. He also saw it, but there was nothing he could do. Now that Okuda Island confirmed his thoughts, there was nothing he could do. Let's wait and see. I hope Lin Yi can come back on his own soon. Okuda Island sighed and cupped his fists before leaving. The Will of Heaven stood there for more than 10 seconds before returning to Tiandan Pavilion. At this time, Hou Guanqi and Kai Zhongyang came over after hearing the news. These two were Dan Gazhang Liju's disciple, but Lin Yi's situation wasn't something they could handle. So, their final conclusion was the same as the Will of Heaven. Of course, this wasn't something they could say to Tianchan and the others. They could only tacitly agree. Unfortunately, even if they didn't say it, Tianchan and Sydney were both smart girls. They could always see some clues. Since the people on the Middle Island couldn't do anything, then they could only place their hopes on the North Island Shangguan Tianhua. After sending off the Will of Heaven and the others, Tianchan immediately came back and said to Sydney, I'll write to Shangguan Laner now and tell her about Lin Yi's situation. If she can get her grandfather, Shanghai Tianhua, maybe Lin Yi will wake up. Sydney nodded. Yes, yes, yes. Right now the only one who can save Lin Yi is someone like Shangguan Tianhua. There's no time to lose, we'll contact Shangguan Laner immediately. Chapter 5741. Shanghai Laner soon received a letter from Tian Chan. She had been waiting for Lin Yi's news. The primordial spirit projection had never stayed in the secular world for such a long time. It was impossible to say that she wasn't worried. On the contrary, Han Jingjing had always been full of confidence in Lin Yi. She never thought that after he went to the secular world, Lin Yi would be in any danger. Jingjing, come and read the letter from Nakajima. It's from Tian Chan. Shanghai Laner was very loyal. She didn't read the letter first, but first found Han Jingjing to share the news. After Lin Yi left, the girls didn't stay together anymore. But their friendship deepened and deepened. They became best friends who could talk about anything and everything. When Han Jingjing heard Tian Chan's name, she immediately dropped what she was doing and ran to Shanghai Laner's side to read the letter. Lin Yi has a problem? Shanghai Laner, who was originally in high spirits, suddenly froze. She threw the letter and ran out. Han Jingjing hurriedly pulled Shanghai Laner and said, "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to find my grandfather." "Didn't you see Tian Chan say that my grandfather might be of help?" Shanghai Laner tried to shake off her arm, but she didn't get rid of it. She immediately stomped her feet and said, "Calm down." Han Jingjing directly pulled Shanghai Laner over and tried to calm her down first. Senior Shangguan is of course powerful, but he may not be of any use if he goes. The will of heaven Okuda, and these people, which one of them isn't an experienced and knowledgeable overlord. The status of any one of them won't be lower than your grandfather. Shanghai Laner thought about it and agreed. If her grandfather was of no use, what should she do? Jingjing, what do you say? I'll listen to you. Shanghai Laner was too lazy to think about it. Anyway, there was Han Jingjing, who was comparable to a supercomputer. She didn't need to use her brain. Han Jingjing didn't hesitate and said solemnly, "You tell Senior Shangguan first. I'll go to Nakajima first and see what's going on." "I want to go too. Wait for me. I'll ask my grandfather. I'll come soon." Shangguan Laner knew that if she wanted to leave, she needed Shangguan Tianhua's permission, so she didn't wait for Han Jingjing to agree and ran out. This time Han Jingjing didn't hold her back. After a simple packing, it didn't take long before Shanghai Laner hurried over. Her little face was full of disappointment. "My grandfather agreed to let me go, but he said that he doesn't know much about the situation in this area. If the people of Nakajima can't do anything, he won't have any countermeasures. He has something to do these 2 days. Maybe after these 2 days my grandfather will go over and have a look. He also asked us to inform him of the situation at any time." Shanghai Laner was a little unwilling, but there was no other way. It was not easy to leave here and go to Nakajima. Han Jingjing nodded and said, "In that case, let's not delay. Let's go immediately." Of course, the little princess of the North Island would use the best flying spirit beast to travel. Under the protection of the masters arranged by Shanghai Tianhua, the two quickly rushed straight to the sky and flew to Nakajima. After arriving at Tiandan Pavilion, Han Jingjing quickly saw Lin Yi, but she couldn't do anything about Lin Yi's situation. This was also expected, so there was nothing to be disappointed about. "I understand. This is the only way." After looking at Lin Yi's situation, Han Jingjing said very indifferently, "What should we do?" Tian Chan hurriedly asked. She also knew how smart Han Jingjing was. Others couldn't do anything, but Han Jingjing might be able to think of a way. "I want to go to the mortal world and find Brother Lin Yi's soul. I want to see what happened to him." Han Jingjing said casually. It didn't seem like she was talking about something dangerous at all. Tian Chan and Sydney shouted at the same time. No. Both of them knew the danger of spirit projection, so it was absolutely impossible for them to agree to such a thing. On the contrary, Shangguan Laner asked curiously, "Why not? If we can find junior brother Lin Yi's spirit, can't we bring him back?" "Jingjing, you are really a genius. You found the key to the problem at once." Tian Chan smiled bitterly and said, "How could it be so easy? The primordial spirit projection is already very dangerous, and there are restrictions on the strength of the projector. It must be above the nascent soul realm. With Jingjing's strength, she doesn't even have the qualifications, let alone face the dangers. Han Jingjing shook her head firmly and said, "No, I must go and see. The problem of strength is not a problem at all. I can solve it. Also, I will find a way to reduce the danger to the lowest level. According to my calculations, there is at least an 80% chance that we can go to the secular world without any harm." For some reason, Han Jingjing's words were so easy to believe. Not to mention 80%, even if Han Jingjing said that she was 100% confident, Tianchan felt that she would also believe it. In the end, Tianchan also wanted to know what happened to Lin Yi in the secular world. Since Han Jingjing insisted on going and was sure that she would not be hurt, then Tianchan seemed to have no reason to stop her. "I understand. I will go to the master of Okuda Island and ask him to help arrange a spirit projection. But Han Jingjing, you must promise me that nothing will happen to you." Tianchan said seriously. If it was possible, she also wanted to go to the secular world to find Lin Yi. Unfortunately, she had no confidence, so she could only pin her hopes on Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing took out a soft armor from her bag and showed it to Tianchan. Then she said solemnly, "I will be fine because I have been preparing to die in the secular world for a long time." Before Tianchan could speak, Sydney asked curiously, "Jingjing, what is the use of this soft armor? Does it have anything to do with spirit projection?" "That's right. Because I don't know when Brother Lin Yi will come, I have nothing to do, so I casually studied this soft armor. If I have the chance, I will go to the secular world to play with him. Just so happens that I can use it this time." Han Jingjing nodded and said. Then she pointed to a round bulge on the chest of the soft armor and said, "There is a spirit beast's inner core here. It is the key to spirit projection." Tianchan felt it and said with some realization, "It is the inner core of a spirit beast at the peak of the nascent soul realm. You want to use this soft armor to deceive the spirit projection device and pretend to have the strength of a peak nascent soul realm cultivator?" Chapter 5742. Shangguan Laner said anxiously, "Jingjing, your cultivation is too low. Even if you go, it's useless. Let me go." Tianchan immediately objected. "Laner, you don't know the situation in the secular world. You can't even find your way there. Let me go." Tianchan couldn't go before, but now that she saw Han Jingjing take out the soft armor, she knew that she could use it to go to the secular world. So she immediately rushed to find Lin Yi. Han Jingjing put the armor away. "You guys don't need to fight. I'm the only one who can help Lin Yi bro this time. The others won't be able to help. I made this armor for myself too, and you guys won't be able to use it to its fullest potential. The chances of failure are very high." Tianchan and the others were speechless. In this aspect, Han Jingjing's talent was absolutely beyond their comprehension. Even if Han Jingjing was talking nonsense, they couldn't tell whether it was true or not. "All right, this matter is settled. Sister Tianchan, please help me arrange the primordial spirit projection as soon as possible. I'll adjust this soft armor." Han Jingjing didn't plan to say anything else and just closed the coffin. Tianchan and Sydney looked at each other and had no choice but to accept this fact. The primordial spirit projection was quickly arranged. Because of Lin Yi's abnormality, Okuda had long been prepared. Originally, the Will of Heaven planned to personally project his primordial spirit projection, but he was extremely unfamiliar with the secular world. Before collecting enough information, he didn't dare to act casually. Otherwise, it would be a waste of time. So, when Han Jingjing said she wanted to go, she could leave immediately. However, Okuda and the others were not very optimistic about Han Jingjing's safety. Tianchan and Sydney tried to persuade Han Jingjing again. "Jingjing, why don't you let me go? Your level is a little too low. How are we going to explain it to Lin Yi if something happens? Since you can adjust this soft armor, you can definitely let me wear it, right?" Tianchan held Han Jingjing's hand, trying to convince Han Jingjing to give up on the primordial spirit projection and let her take over. Unfortunately, Han Jingjing was very determined. She shook her head and said, "Sister Tianchan, there's no need to say anything. I'm ready. Let's start. Big brother Lin Yi might be waiting for me to help him. Let's not waste time." After that, no one knew how Han Jingjing did it, but the soft armor she wore on her body emitted a faint light, and the powerful aura of the nascent soul stage slowly rose. There was no flaw at all. Okuda was also amazed. It's exactly the same as a real peak nascent soul cultivator. If I didn't know the truth, I would definitely be fooled. It seemed that it would not be a problem to hide from the primordial spirit projection device. You're indeed a genius in the aspect of refining weapons. Han Jingjing smiled slightly. She was a genius, but not a genius in refining weapons. It was just that this kind of thing was too troublesome to explain, so she let Okuda figure it out himself. Tian Xingjian nodded. That's right, this soft armor is really amazing, and it's very effective in scaring people. However, after you project your soul, you'll be weakened for a period of time. You have to be careful, find Lin Yi and bring him back as soon as possible. Han Jingjing smiled and nodded. I'll remember. Thank you, Brother Tian, for reminding me. Let's start now. Seeing that Han Jingjing was determined, no one continued to persuade her. Instead, they gave a few words of advice. Okuda also started the primordial spirit projection device. With the soft armor as a disguise, Han Jingjing's primordial spirit easily completed the projection. After breaking through the barrier, it went directly to the secular world. Outside a small town in Europe, Han Jingjing appeared in a sparse forest, feeling a little dizzy. Her primordial spirit projection was random, so it could not accurately bring Han Jingjing to Wuxia. Instead, it brought her to Europe, which was a huge deviation. However, there was a shadow of a soft armor on Han Jingjing's primordial spirit. It was the work she used to disguise herself as a Yuanying peak. Unexpectedly, she also brought it with her. Where is this? Han Jingjing looked around her surroundings in a daze. Her divine sense was not strong, and she was not used to releasing it, so she still used it to see more. The soft armor on her body turned into a set of ordinary casual clothes, and her primordial spirit quickly transformed into a primordial spirit body. The process was so fast that if Lin Yi saw it, he would definitely be stunned. When Lin Yi came down, he had to go through untold hardships to condense a primordial spirit body, and he was almost eaten as a big tonic. Perhaps this was also the function of the soft armor. But the soft armor was originally made by Han Jingjing, which proved that she was a genius. Unfortunately, at this time, the genius beauty Han Jingjing still had a cute look on her face. She looked around in a daze and then walked slowly. The grove was not big. In a few minutes she walked to the edge. The road that was faintly visible before was completely revealed in front of Han Jingjing. 6 kilometers in Austin? Han Jingjing looked up at a road sign on the road and thought to herself, what kind of place is this Austin? Of course, it is definitely not China because the text on it is not Chinese. As a top student, this is not difficult for Han Jingjing. It seems that I have come to Europe. It seems that the primordial spirit projection is random. Now there is no way, Brother Lin Yi, you have to wait for me. Han Jingjing sighed, whispered a few words, and walked in the direction of Austin. Although with the help of the soft armor, Han Jingjing successfully condensed the primordial spirit body. But if she wanted to fly, it would consume too much divine sense power. Now Han Jingjing's strength has been reduced to the peak of the middle stage of heaven stage. This is still the strength that has been preserved by the blessing of the soft armor. If she flies, it is likely that she will not find Lin Yi. Han Jingjing will be passive to the heavenly island. So Han Jingjing can only go to this Austin first and then find a way to contact the people in China. Whether it is the Liu family or Kong Xiaobo, they must be able to get her there smoothly. Lin Yi has the space of the jade pendant to carry things, but Han Jingjing only has such a soft armor and nothing else. Fortunately, the strength of the peak of the middle stage of heaven stage is also regarded as a master in the secular world. There is no need to worry too much about safety. After a few steps in the direction behind Han Jingjing, there is a car approaching quickly. In Europe, hitchhiking is a very common thing. Han Jingjing does not want to waste her divine sense power, so she simply stood on the side of the road and stretched out her arm to give a thumbs up. Chapter 57:43. Hi, beautiful, where are you going? A white youth in his 20s in the driver's seat greeted Han Jingjing with a smile. Judging from his attire, he was not a rich man. The Bumblebee was just an ordinary model, barely considered as a low-end car in Europe. But this guy's expression made him look like a rich second generation. It was as if he was writing on his face that he wanted to hit on her, and this was her honor. Han Jingjing slightly narrowed her eyes and revealed a harmless and innocent smile. I'm going to Ostall up ahead. Can you give me a ride? Of course, no problem. Come on, the white youth said with a warm smile. He opened the door of the front passenger seat for Han Jingjing. But Han Jingjing had already opened the door of the back seat and shrunk into it. The white youth was slightly startled. He did not say anything else and could only smile awkwardly. He leaned over to open the door of the front passenger seat, and then stepped on the accelerator. My name is Johansson, beautiful. What's your name? The white youth deliberately slowed down the speed of the car. It was half as slow as when he came, so he had time to turn back and talk to Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing said lightly, You can call me Lu. Oh, by the way, please turn your head and look at the road while driving. Thank you. It was just a ride. Han Jingjing did not want to talk to this Johansson. She reminded him and turned her head to look out of the window. It only took a few minutes to travel 6 kilometers. When they arrived at Ostall, they went their separate ways. Johansson laughed and said, Lu, don't worry. My driving skills are very good. There are no cars on this road, so there will be no accident. Are you living in Ostall? Or are you looking for someone or traveling? Han Jingjing casually said, I'm just taking a stroll. Then you're in luck. I'm very familiar with Ostall. Although it's just a small place, there are still a lot of fun places. I'll be your tour guide. I promise you'll have a good time. Johansson immediately said. Han Jingjing guessed that if she said she was looking for someone, he would also say the same thing. Can I borrow your phone for a while? Han Jingjing really didn't want to talk nonsense with Johansson, so she directly borrowed his phone. In any case, it was not easy for Han Jingjing, who had no money on her, to make an international call. Johansson was secretly delighted. He thought that his handsomeness had moved Han Jingjing, and she was going to give him her number. He immediately took out his phone and handed it over, saying, Here, you can use it as you like. This is the latest model. It has only been on the market for 3 days. You know that, right? Han Jingjing casually took it, but she didn't even bother to smile. Why was he showing off the latest phone model in front of a genius like her? With her ability, any toy she made would be better than an ordinary mobile phone. Although it had been a long time since she made a call to the secular world, Han Jingjing's memory was extremely good. Naturally, she would not forget those numbers. However, after dialing, she was prompted that this phone was prohibited from making international calls. Han Jingjing was speechless. She didn't expect to encounter such a thing. It seemed that this Johansson was indeed a pauper who liked to show off. He even deliberately set up such a restriction. Forget it, I'll think of a way when I get to Ostall. After hanging up, Han Jingjing threw the phone in the front passenger seat and continued to look out the window with a calm face. In front of Lin Yi and the people she knew, she was the innocent and pure Han Jingjing. However, now that she was alone in Europe, the hidden Lu Jinghan character began to slowly awaken. When Johansson saw that Han Jingjing did not use the phone to talk to anyone, he thought that his guess was correct. She was indeed interested in him, so she gave him her phone number. Johansson secretly observed Han Jingjing's exquisite and perfect face and figure through the rearview mirror. His heart slowly began to burn. There were still about 3 kilometers to Ostall. He couldn't wait to return to the town. He simply turned the steering wheel and drove off the road, heading for the small forest at the side. Han Jingjing frowned slightly and turned to look at Johansson. Aren't you going to Ostall? Why did you deviate from the main road? Dear Lu, we are all adults. Since we both have a good impression of each other, there is no need to be shy. My car is very comfortable. Of course, I will make it more comfortable for you, Johansson said with a smile. However, that kind of look made Han Jingjing want to smash his face with the sole of her shoe. Even an idiot would know what such explicit words meant. Han Jingjing said with a frosty face, Stop the car. Otherwise, you will regret it. Haha, Lu, you are so cute. Is it okay to do it here? You can still see a little from the road. It will be more hidden if you go in. Of course, if you like it here, it's okay. I have no opinion, and I promise you will not regret it. Johansson had a dirty smile on his face and deliberately distorted Han Jingjing's meaning. In his opinion, Han Jingjing just happened to come here to play, and she left her phone number in his phone. Obviously, she was not an old-fashioned woman. It was not a problem to bring her to play in the forest. Even if Han Jingjing was not willing, it was not up to her. Johansen's brain was now filled with lust. He desperately wanted to rape Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing suddenly quieted down and looked at Johansen coldly. If she wanted to kill this idiot, it was just a matter of moving her fingers. Even if Han Jingjing did not practice or fight, her strength was real. Johansen suddenly felt a chill in his heart. Although he did not understand, he did not want to continue driving in. Seeing that the road was already blurred, he estimated that this place was remote enough, so he simply stopped the car. After putting down the back of the front seat, Johansen turned and said with a smile, "Baby, come on. Do you want to take it off yourself, or do you want me to help you?" As he spoke, he reached out to touch Han Jingjing's pretty face. He did not even think about whether Han Jingjing would resist or not. Han Jingjing raised her eyebrows and suddenly reached out to grab Johansen's palm. She gently twisted it back. With a slight cracking sound, Johansen's palm directly turned back 180 degrees. I said you will regret it. Han Jingjing calmly shook off Johansen's hand and wiped her hand on the seat with some disgust. She felt that touching this trash was very dirty. Chapter 57:44. Johansen suddenly thought of something and pulled out a .38 pistol from the storage compartment. He pointed it directly at Han Jingjing's forehead and shouted, "You son of a bitch! How dare you attack me? You're dead today. I'm telling you, you're definitely dead today." Han Jingjing looked at the black muzzle indifferently. The spirit was not afraid of the bullets of this kind of pistol. Even if she was not a spirit, Han Jingjing's strength was enough to easily take down this pistol at this distance, so there was nothing to worry about. Johansen gritted his teeth with a ferocious look and said, "Bitch, take off all your clothes. I'll ask you for compensation today, and then I'll deal with you." Although the pain of the fracture in his left wrist made Johansen's forehead break out in a cold sweat, he would not be reconciled if he did not have sex with Han Jingjing a few times. Han Jingjing snorted twice as a mockery of Johansen's words. Then she reached out again and grabbed his right wrist. There was another crisp sound and the .38 pistol fell directly into Han Jingjing's hand. Johansen screamed again, sweating all over. That kind of bone-piercing pain was definitely not a joke. Looking at his pale face, it was likely that he would faint at any time. "I just wanted to teach you a lesson, but your ability to make me angry is not bad. Now you should be satisfied, right?" Han Jingjing said with a faint smile. She pinched the pistol and broke it, then threw it out of the car window. Johansen looked at Han Jingjing in fear. This girl, who was as beautiful as an angel, was simply as terrible as the devil. "As compensation, I'll take your car first, as well as your cash and mobile phone." Han Jingjing didn't know how to get some money to make an international call, and it just so happened that this Johansen came to her door. Since he wanted to rob her, Han Jingjing didn't mind robbing him in return. Without waiting for Johansen to speak, Han Jingjing nimbly got to the front seat, then opened the door and kicked Johansen out. Of course, his wallet was already in Han Jingjing's hand, but Han Jingjing might have been focusing on the wallet, so she didn't pay much attention to the position when she kicked him. When Johansen flew out, he seemed to have heard the terrible sound of an egg breaking. Han Jingjing didn't care about the guy's screams. She closed the car door and drove away. Anyway, this guy shouldn't die. After a while, when he didn't feel so much pain, he could walk to the road and ask for help. Johansen was lying on the ground with cold sweat all over his forehead. His body was curled up like a shrimp, and he looked at his car in despair as it sped away. He didn't expect that a seemingly normal hunting trip would turn out like this. Han Jingjing suddenly stopped the car and stretched her hand out of the window. In her hand was a bag of white powder. This was what Johansen cared about the most, a bag of heroin. The pistol from before was placed together with the heroin. Han Jingjing happened to see it in the open storage compartment, and suddenly felt that she was too kind to Johansen. Obviously, she couldn't consume so many drugs by herself. Johansen should be transporting drugs, so he had a pistol. She just didn't expect that this guy would still have the mood to look for women when transporting drugs. He really deserved it. Seeing the white powder pouring out of the transparent bag in Han Jingjing's hand, and then drifting away with the wind, Johansen was completely desperate. Even the pain of his egg breaking couldn't compare to the unbearable pain of watching all this happen. Without this batch of goods, he could only hide his identity and flee. Otherwise, he would definitely die a more miserable death. After dealing with the drugs, Han Jingjing continued to drive. As for whether Johansson was dead or alive, she didn't care at all. This kind of trash would only be better for the world if he died. Austin arrived soon. Han Jingjing parked the bumblebee at a remote intersection, and then took out all the euros in Johansson's wallet. The wallet was thrown under the car seat. Han Jingjing didn't plan to continue to use this car, so she didn't pull out the key. The most important thing now was to contact the people in Wuxia and figure out the situation of Linny first, and then ask someone to pick her up. The stack of notes in Johansson's wallet was about 400 or 500 euros. It seemed to be a little less for a drug dealer, but it was enough for Han Jingjing. Pushing the door open, Han Jingjing was just about to get out of the car when she found that something was wrong. This place was originally not a place where cars came and went, but now there were two cars rushing over at a very fast speed. The target was obviously Han Jingjing's bumblebee. Because of Johansson's particularity, Han Jingjing felt that she might have been targeted. She released her divine awareness a little and became more and more sure of this. The Europeans in the two cars were holding guns in their hands. The evil forces here are so rampant. They dare to come with guns in broad daylight. Han Jingjing whispered. She lowered her body and quickly rushed into the alley next to her. She was not afraid of bullets, but she was afraid of trouble. Whether these people were coming for her or not, it was the best choice to get rid of them as soon as possible. As for continuing to drive and race with them, it was not a movie. Was it necessary? Catch that woman, don't let her run away. As soon as Han Jingjing entered the alley, someone shouted and chased after her. It was a person from one of the cars who jumped out. Another person went to check the car that Han Jingjing had abandoned and shouted, "Johansson is not here, and there is nothing left except a wallet. It really has something to do with that idiot. It's really annoying. I just wanted to hitch a ride. Why are there so many things?" Han Jingjing stood on the roof of a two-story building and looked at the guys who were chasing her below. She snorted softly. The other party found her so quickly. It should be that the car had been installed with a positioning device. It was estimated that when the idiot Johansson turned into the woods, he had already been noticed by them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have found Han Jingjing so quickly. Deviating from the scheduled route meant that there was an accident. Although they returned to Ostal immediately, they didn't go to the place they had agreed to meet. It would be strange if they didn't come to investigate. Chapter 57:45. Looking at their posture, they would not stop until they found Han Jingjing. In this place, the power of these guys seemed to be very strong. No one dared to say anything with a gun in the daytime. Han Jingjing was not worried about falling into their hands. She just didn't want to waste time. So she simply sneaked into the house under her feet and found a phone to use first. Before sneaking in, Han Jingjing certainly used her divine awareness to make sure that there was no one inside. In such a close place, her divine awareness was still competent. The first call, Han Jingjing did not call back to the Liu family. Compared with the relationship with Lin Yi, the Liu family without her was far less powerful than Kong Xiaobo, Lai Changyi, and others. So Han Jingjing directly called Lai Changyi. The two had business dealings before, so she still remembered his number. After a few rings, the other side connected. "Hello. Who is this?" Lai Changyi said directly in English because the number showed that it was from Europe. He thought it was someone from the Buffon family looking for him. "Lai Changyi? I'm Han Jingjing." Han Jingjing certainly had no problem communicating in English, but the two Wuxia people were on the phone. Of course, they spoke directly in Wuxia language. Lai Changyi seemed to be stunned, and then he cried out, "Han Jingjing? Lu Jinghan? No, sister-in-law, you're back too?" Lai Changyi and others certainly knew Han Jingjing's identity. Suddenly hearing Han Jingjing's voice, Lai Changyi suddenly became excited. This was the second person to come back from Heaven Stage Island besides Lin Yi. How could he not be excited? Han Jingjing did not beat around the bush. She asked directly, "Where is brother Lin Yi? Is there something wrong with him?" "Jingjing's sister-in-law, you know?" "Yes, the boss has been in a coma for more than 10 days. Although there are no scars, he just doesn't wake up." "Sister-in-law, are you in Europe now? Can you come back as soon as possible to think of a way?" Lai Changyi did not talk nonsense. He simply explained the situation and asked Han Jingjing if she could go back. At this time, Han Jingjing came back from Heaven Stage Island. There was no need to ask that she came back for Lin Yi. Otherwise, she would not ask if there was something wrong with Lin Yi. Brother Lin Yi has been in a coma for more than 10 days? Has there been no response? Han Jingjing frowned. It made sense that Lin Yi's main body was unconscious on Sky-class Island, since his soul had been projected to the common world. But what did it mean when his soul was unconscious in the common world? This matter seemed to be a little troublesome. Fortunately, according to Lai Changyi's words, Lin Yi's primordial spirit was fine, just unconscious. No matter what, he had to see Lin Yi first. Lai Changyi, I'm now in a place called Aldos in Europe. Because I came back from Heaven Stage Island, I don't have anything on me. Find a way to bring me back. Han Jingjing and Lai Changyi didn't need to be polite. They were all people by Lin Yi's side. Okay, sister-in-law, please wait a moment. I'll check it out. After Lai Changyi said that, there was a clattering sound of the keyboard, and then he said, Sister-in-law, I've checked Aldos. It's a small town, but it's only 150 kilometers away from Lanmi. It'll take a lot of time for me to send people there. If it's convenient for you, go directly to Lanmi to find Su Shirhan and Chengyi. They should have returned to Lanmi for a concert. Is Shirhan also in Europe? Han Jingjing was surprised. If that was the case, it would be more convenient to go back with Su Shirhan. After all, Su Shirhan wasn't an ordinary celebrity. Yes, sister-in-law Shirhan is a guest of Changyi's concert. This time Lanmi is a makeup concert. It's a long story. Let's talk about it later. Anyway, as long as you can get to Lanmi, you can come back with sister-in-law Shirhan. You can take her private plane. You don't have to worry about anything. Lai Changyi said with certainty. With Su Shirhan's background and fame, her private plane wouldn't encounter any trouble or inspection. After thinking about it, Lai Changyi said, If it's not convenient for you to go, then I'll contact someone to pick you up in Ostal. Or I can ask sister-in-law Shirhan to go there. It's okay. I can go there myself. Han Jingjing said casually. It was just 150 kilometers. It would only take 1 or 2 hours to get there. If Su Shirhan came, it would be a waste of time. Well, sister-in-law Jingjing, write down their phone numbers. I'll contact them first. If possible, it's best to come back as soon as possible. Lai Changyi was also worried about Lin Yi. If Han Jingjing had a way to cure Lin Yi, of course the sooner the better. Unfortunately, Ostal wasn't within the Buffon family's sphere of influence. Otherwise, Lai Changyi would definitely ask Kerman to send Han Jingjing back. With their partnership and Kerman's identity as half of Lai Changyi's disciple, these small things shouldn't be a problem. Han Jingjing remembered the numbers Lai Changyi gave her and hung up. She took out €100 and put it next to the phone. It was the cost of this international call. As for whether she gave too much, it wasn't something Han Jingjing needed to consider. Anyway, it was all along. It didn't matter at all. As for contacting Su Shirhan, it wouldn't be too late to wait until they reached Lanmi. Right now, she had to think of a way to get to Lanmi. Han Jingjing, who was about to leave the house, suddenly felt something was wrong. It seemed like there was a threat approaching. What could threaten her was definitely not a gun or something like that. She released her divine sense and found a middle-aged white man in black with a cross sword in his hand. His eyes were looking straight at Han Jingjing's direction as if the wall couldn't stop him at all. Han Jingjing suddenly frowned. There was actually someone in this town who could threaten her, and he appeared in front of her so quickly. It was too much of a coincidence. But Han Jingjing wouldn't think that this was an operation specifically targeted at her. She just projected her soul from Heaven State Island. Even Okuda and the Will of Heaven didn't know that Han Jingjing would appear in Europe. It was impossible for them to specifically send someone to deal with her. This old man looks like he has some skills, but I can't see his strength level. It should be the European system. Han Jingjing thought about it and felt that there was no need to waste time. So she turned around and left the house from the other side. Chapter 57-46. The arrows in her hands did not stop as she continued to perfectly block Han Jingjing's path of advance. Unfortunately, the perfection that Hunting Bao thought was perfect was still full of flaws under Han Jingjing's terrifying calculation ability. Coupled with her superior strength, she was able to easily avoid all the arrows. Hunting Bao suddenly felt some regret. She should not have jumped down from the roof. As an archer, attacking the enemy from a high position was always the best choice. However, she had foolishly given up this advantage. She was too careless. She thought that the two of them would be able to defeat this girl. She did not expect to kick an iron plate. Unknowingly, Hunting Bao changed from advancing to retreating at an extremely fast speed. As a result, her arrows were inevitably scattered, and there were naturally more flaws. With Han Jingjing's speed and momentum, Hunting Bao was very worried that she would be caught by Han Jingjing in the next second. However, what surprised her was that Han Jingjing, who clearly had the opportunity to deal with her, suddenly changed direction again. Black Shirt, who had rushed over to help, was shocked. He thought that Han Jingjing would not be able to easily change direction with such a fast speed. However, Han Jingjing seemed to completely ignore the effect of inertia and changed direction at a large angle without any difficulty. Black Shirt, who originally wanted to help Hunting Bao and sneak attack Han Jingjing, was now facing Han Jingjing head-on. The distance between the two of them continued to decrease. Hunting Bao's expression changed greatly. Only now did he understand that Han Jingjing's target had always been black dress. The sudden attack just now was just a feint. Not only could it disrupt her rhythm, but it could also attract black dress over. It was indeed a good plan. Seeing that Han Jingjing was about to face Black Shirt again, Hunting Bao could only try her best to shoot an arrow in an attempt to interfere with Han Jingjing's movement. Unfortunately, this arrow did not even touch Han Jingjing's shadow. When two enemies meet on a narrow path, the courageous wins. As a veteran spirit hunter, Black Shirt was very clear of this principle. Therefore, when he realized that he had fallen into a trap, he did not have the slightest intention of retreating. Instead, he stimulated all his potential and fiercely stabbed his cross blade towards Han Jingjing's forehead. Out of all the methods of attack, stabbing in a straight line was the fastest and closest. Furthermore, both of them were approaching each other at the same time. Black Shirt even had the illusion that Han Jingjing had placed her forehead on the crossblade's tip. Then Hei realized that it was just an illusion. Han Jingjing left him an unfathomable smile, and then disappeared in an instant. Whether it was the stab from the cross blade or the arrow from the composite bow, none of them touched Han Jingjing at all. This was because Han Jingjing had already moved to the side of Black Clothed. She casually kicked out and hit Black Clothed's leg. No matter how strong a body was, there would always be a weakness. For example, the bend of the leg. Hei, who was rushing over at full speed, did not expect that he would be kicked by Han Jingjing in this place. Before he could fully exert his strength, his kneecap was broken by a huge force. To be more precise, half of it was his own strength. Because of the sudden change, his own strength was folded, and he broke one of his legs. The black-clothed man, who had lost his center of gravity, tumbled to the side like a galloping horse, making a loud noise. His cross blade in particular finally broke free of his control. Han Jingjing did not stop at all. She passed by Hei and burst forth with her full speed, rushing towards Hunting Bao's position like lightning. Although Han Jingjing's speed was fast, she had held back at least 30% of her strength. Hunting Bao was completely unprepared for this sudden burst of speed. After all, she felt that Han Jingjing's previous dodging movements were already her limit. This time, Hunting Bao did not even have time to shoot another arrow. Han Jingjing had already appeared in front of her. In a moment of desperation, Hunting Bao directly used the composite bow as a weapon. She waved it and smashed it towards Han Jingjing. However, after getting close to Han Jingjing, Hunting Bao was indeed a weak chicken. Han Jingjing casually reached out and grabbed Hunting Bao's wrist that was holding the composite bow. With a little force, Hunting Bao's wrist was broken. Hunting Bao let out a soft groan. She could not bear the pain. Her body leaned back, revealing her hot body wrapped in leather. Unfortunately, Han Jingjing was not a man. Of course, she had no interest in this scene. "Who are you people? Why did you sneak attack me?" Han Jingjing asked coldly. Hunting Bao's broken wrist was still in her grasp. Because Han Jingjing was still pushing and pulling, Hunting Bao was already kneeling on the ground on one knee. Her body leaned back a lot, as if she was pulling a fully drawn bow. "I'm sorry, we were wrong. Please forgive us this once." Hunting Bao's beautiful eyes were about to tear up. She could not be bothered to answer the question and immediately began to beg for mercy. Hei, who was lying on the ground, could not get up for a moment. Her face was pale and cold sweat flowed down. She looked at Han Jingjing with a look of extreme reverence. Towards Hunting Bao's begging, she immediately acquiesced. Although Han Jingjing seemed to be busy going back and forth, the three of them had actually exchanged blows in an instant. At most, it had only been a few seconds before the entire battle was over. Answer the question, don't talk nonsense. Han Jingjing pushed back again and said coldly. Hunting Bao snorted again and hurriedly replied. The two of us are spirit hunters, and we specialize in finding spirits that wander between heaven and earth. Many of them are evil spirits and vengeful spirits. After killing them, we collect the purest soul energy in exchange for rewards. This time we were blind and wanted to kill you, but in the end we offended you. Please let us go. I still have some collected soul power here. I am willing to give it to you as a token of apology. Let me see. Don't play tricks. Although Han Jingjing did not know what soul power was, she did not reveal it. She directly asked Hunting Bao for soul power to see. Of course, Hunting Bao did not dare to play any tricks. If their strengths were similar, she would have the thought of resisting and looking for an opportunity to escape. But now she did not have such thoughts at all. She only hoped that she could smoothly exchange her life for Han Jingjing's. Her other unrestrained hand quickly took out a jade bottle from a small pouch on her waist. She handed it to Han Jingjing and said, "This is my soul-gathering bottle. All the collected soul power is in here." Han Jingjing extended her hand and took it. She released her divine sense and scanned it. There did not seem to be any mechanism. Furthermore, when her divine sense entered the jade bottle, Han Jingjing felt that her primordial spirit was incomparably comfortable. Her thoughts were also much clearer. It seemed like this was really a good thing. Chapter 57-47. Letting go of Hunting Bao's broken wrist, Han Jingjing didn't have the intention to kill them. She flashed to Black Shirt's side and looked at him with a smile. Black Shirt sighed. He knew that he had suffered a great loss today, but who asked them to come to him? Now if he wanted to live, he could only beg for Han Jingjing's forgiveness. Without saying much, Black Shirt also took out his soul collection bottle and gave it to Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing didn't know how much soul power was in these two bottles, but it was at least half. Her intuition told her that these two bottles of soul power would definitely be helpful to Lin Yi's current situation. I'll give you these soul power. Is this the end of the matter between us? Black Shirt asked gloomily. Although the small bottle was only the size of a thumb and it was still half full, if these things were sold, they could be exchanged for millions of euros. Now that they were given to Han Jingjing for nothing, it would be strange if he was in a good mood. Han Jingjing glanced at Black Shirt faintly. Her divine sense scanned the small bag of Hunting Bao and him twice. After confirming that they didn't have any extra soul power, she didn't say anything more. How do I use this thing? Han Jingjing asked casually. Although she could roughly deduce it, it was better to be safe since it was related to Lin Yi. If these two dared to lie and harm Lin Yi, Han Jingjing didn't mind coming to Europe to turn them upside down and kill them. Black Shirt said straightforwardly. It's more complicated for ordinary people, but there's no taboo for a soul body like you. As long as you come into contact with it, you can absorb the soul power to strengthen your own soul. Many evil spirits and resentful spirits actually need to strengthen their soul power to constantly kill people. Have you deliberately killed people and then extracted the soul power of the living after they died? Han Jingjing suddenly asked. If these two people did the same, they were no different from evil spirits. Black Shirt shouted angrily. We are noble spirit hunters. How could we do such a despicable thing? You should apologize to us for your ignorant words and deeds. Black Shirt. Hunting Bao walked over slowly and quickly interrupted him when he heard this. This guy really dared to say anything. Didn't he know that their lives were in the hands of others? If Han Jingjing became angry because of this, wouldn't all that soul power be wasted? Hei also realized that he was impulsive. He laughed dryly and said, Forget it. Since you don't know these things, I can't blame you. Remember not to say such things casually in the future. If Lin Yi was here, he might have started interrogating if there was any more soul power. Lin Yi was never polite to people who offended him first. However, Han Jingjing's personality was much kinder, so she didn't continue to question him. Of course, Han Jingjing was also wondering if she had more soul power. If the soul power she had wasn't enough for Lin Yi, she would definitely come back to search for more. Therefore, she wouldn't kill these two people, but it was necessary to leave some marks. Han Jingjing quietly placed 2 secret divine sense imprints on Black Cloak and Hunting Bao's bodies. This was one of her few methods, and she had only figured it out because of her research needs. With these 2 divine sense imprints, she could find the 2 of them at any time if she needed them. If she didn't need them, it didn't matter if she never met them. Do you have a car? There weren't many people in this small town. Moreover, it was working hours during the day, so there were very few people here. However, the commotion from their fight wasn't small. Han Jingjing already wanted to leave. In addition, the power behind Johansson was also looking for Han Jingjing. If she wanted to avoid trouble, she couldn't waste any more time. Hunting Bao hurriedly nodded and said, "We do, but we only have 1 car. If you want to go somewhere, can we send you there?" It was clear that Hunting Bao didn't want to give Han Jingjing another car for free. Moreover, sending her to the place she wanted to go might allow her to better understand Han Jingjing's background. Okay. Hurry up and drive the car over. Han Jingjing was well aware of Hunting Bao's thoughts and didn't bother to expose her. It was more important to leave this place as soon as possible. Seeing the injury on Hunting Bao's hand, Han Jingjing reached out and grabbed her hand, startling her. "Let me treat you. Don't move," Han Jingjing said faintly. She directly twisted and closed Hunting Bao's wrist. Originally, she was being merciful. She didn't really break Hunting Bao's bones. It was just a dislocation. After restoring it, it was more than half healed. As for the injury on Black Cloak's leg, it was slightly more serious. Fortunately, it didn't affect his movements. Since they were going to take a car, it didn't matter. Soon, Hunting Bao drove an ordinary car. After Han Jingjing and Black Cloak got in, they left Ostal and drove in the direction of Blue Rice. On the road out of the town, there were some people in black suits checking the leaving cars. However, when they saw Black Cloak and Hunting Bao's car, they didn't stop them at all. It seemed that the status of spirit hunters in Europe was quite distinguished. Along the way, Han Jingjing didn't have the mood to talk. She was thinking about Lin Yi. Han Jingjing didn't say anything. Black Cloak and Hunting Bao didn't dare to say anything. They just sat in the front quietly. When the car entered the center of Blue Rice City, the two suddenly realized that Han Jingjing was no longer in the back seat. They weren't surprised about this. It was a very normal thing for a spirit body to be able to do this. Han Jingjing didn't want them to know that she was going to find Su Shihan and Cheng Yi. So she left without saying goodbye. At this time, the sky was getting dark. The concert was about to start. Han Jingjing sneaked into the venue and went to the backstage to find Su Shihan. She should have called first, but Johansson's phone was already thrown away by Han Jingjing. As for Black Cloak and Hunting Bao, Han Jingjing wouldn't borrow their phones. Since she was already here, she might as well go and find them. The fans of Blue Rice were very passionate. They didn't complain because of what happened last time. On the contrary, they were even more popular than last time. Han Jingjing just wanted to say that the population of Europe was actually quite big. After a few turns, she came to the backstage. Cheng Yi was talking to Su Shihan. "Shiji, why isn't Han Jingjing here yet? I can't contact her. If she doesn't come after the concert, we should go back together." Chapter 57-48. I also want to go back and see Lin Yi. He's like this because of me, Cheng Yi said with self-blame. She really missed Lin Yi. Unfortunately, the schedule was arranged before she was kidnapped. She couldn't do anything about the concert, so Cheng Yi could only complete it first. Don't say that. If you say that, Lin Yi won't be happy. Okay, let's not talk anymore. I'll get people to prepare the flight first, Su Shihan said softly and then changed the topic. Su Shihan said gently and then changed the topic. In fact, everything on the private plane was prepared in advance. As long as she said a word, it could take off at any time. Han Jingjing heard this and directly appeared in the room. She said happily, "Su Shihan Cheng, I'm very happy to see you guys, but I'm in a hurry. I won't be attending Cheng Yi's concert. Su Shihan, are you leaving now?" Ah! Su Shihan and Cheng Yi both screamed and subconsciously wanted to attack. A person suddenly appeared in a closed room. Anyone would be shocked. Not to mention, both of them were focused on Lin Yi. "Han Jingjing. It's you. You scared me to death. Su Shihan and Chang Yi calmed down after seeing who it was and stopped their attack. After greeting each other, Su Shihan didn't even bother to go on stage. She directly nodded to Chang Yi as a farewell, and then pulled Han Jingjing to the rooftop of the stadium. There was a small helicopter waiting for them. After the transfer to the airport, the private jet was already waiting for them to fly across the country. Su Shihan's private plane quickly took off from Lanmi. Han Jingjing suddenly remembered that she still had some things to bring in Beijing, so the destination was changed to Beijing City. Originally, Han Jingjing didn't want to go back to the Lu family. However, since she had to get something, she would go over and take a look when she had time. After all, she was also a member of the Lu family. It would be good to go back and take a look. Although Su Shihan wanted to see Lin Yi as soon as possible, but since Han Jingjing said that the thing in Beijing was related to saving Lin Yi, of course she wouldn't object. However, she didn't plan to go with Han Jingjing to the Lu family. It wasn't suitable for her to go with them. Since she had decided to go back, Han Jingjing informed House Lu beforehand. So when the plane landed, the two most important figures of House Lu, Lu Qianni and Lu Qianli, came to pick her up personally. There was also the pillar of the younger generation, Han Jingjing's brother Lu Xiaoqiao. Uncle, Dad, and little Qiao, why are you all here? Seeing that her family had come to pick her up, Han Jingjing was naturally very happy, and a sincere smile appeared on her face. Jingjing, it's been a while since we've seen you. Of course we had to come see you as soon as we heard you were coming back. Tianni said with a bright smile as he walked up to Han Jingjing and gave her a light hug. Lu Qianni knew very well that if it wasn't for Han Jingjing's foresight, House Lu might not have been able to get on Lin Yi's ship. When Lin Yi's trust in House Lu was in crisis, and the whole House Lu might be destroyed, it was Han Jingjing who turned the tide and protected House Lu's foundation. So towards this niece of his, Han Jingjing, Lu Qianni really liked her. It wasn't strange for him to come and pick her up personally. Thank you, uncle. Han Jingjing returned to the image of a wise and strong woman in front of House Lu. She let go of Lu Qianni and looked at her father. Lu Tianli's eyes were filled with excitement and pride. This was his daughter. Although he had done something to tarnish his daughter's reputation, it couldn't change the blood connection between father and daughter. Father! Han Jingjing walked up with a smile and hugged Tianli. Seeing Tianli's spirit, Han Jingjing knew that he had truly turned over a new leaf, and this made her very happy. Jingjing, Daddy missed you a lot. Tianli hugged Han Jingjing, his eyes reddening. After all, this was his daughter, and he wouldn't be able to see her for a few years. It would be a lie to say that he didn't miss her. Daddy, Jingjing missed you too. Han Jingjing's eyes reddened as well. The person she worried about the most in the common world was her father. Luckily, Tianli was doing well this time, and it made her feel much better. Sis, there's still me. Lu Xiaoqiao giggled as he pointed at himself and opened his arms. Han Jingjing, of course, gave him a big hug as well. She smiled. Xiaoqiao, you're finally not that nerdy otaku anymore. I can finally relax. Otherwise, I'll be worried that you won't be able to find a wife if you're always like that. This was of course a joke. Lu Xiaoqiao was handsome and knowledgeable, but even if he was ugly and deformed, as long as he had the halo of being the young master of House Lu, the number of women who wanted to marry him would be enough to line up from the Lu house's gate to the suburbs of Yanjing. The family chatted for a bit before getting into the car. Lu Xiaoqiao drove himself, and Lu Qianni and Lu Qianli talked with Han Jingjing. This was definitely a treatment that only a minister or above could enjoy. Grandpa, how's your body? Han Jingjing asked about Elder Lu and learned that the old man was in good health, but he didn't care about politics anymore. He wasn't in Yanjing at the moment either, but had gone to the south to recuperate. Lu Qianni and the other juniors would make time to visit him every week, so the old man wouldn't feel lonely. Han Jingjing nodded. So Grandpa went to the south. Then let's not go home, let's go to the company. I need to get some stuff and then we'll go to Songshan. So urgent? Lu Tianli said, surprised. His daughter rarely came back for a few years, and he didn't want to miss this reunion. Yeah, some things are more urgent. I'll come back after I'm done. Han Jingjing guessed that House Lu didn't know about Lin Yi's coma yet, so she didn't say it out loud. Lin Yi had enemies in the common world, and it wouldn't do Lin Yi any good if the news got out. Han Jingjing, of course, knew the gravity of the situation. Are you going to find brother-in-law? He came here once before. Lu Xiaoqiao didn't turn back, but his guess was pretty close. Han Jingjing's heart warmed. Lin Yi still remembered to visit House Lu for her, which meant that he had a place in his heart. She wanted to go back to Songshan to see Lin Yi as soon as possible. Chapter 5749. If Han Jingjing was going to look for Lin Yi, then Tianli wouldn't have a problem. Thinking of Fan Jian, he wanted to plead for him. Han Jingjing frowned. Of course she knew who Fan Jian was. In fact, she didn't have much of a good impression of this cousin of hers. He was just a spoiled brat, trying to distance himself from House Lu before even asking for their help when House Lu was in trouble. Now that House Lu was rich, he was rushing to help them. This type of person would never be welcomed anywhere. "Dad, why did you bring him up?" Han Jingjing asked curiously. It was rare for the family to get together, and bringing up someone like this would only waste time and affect their mood. Tianli laughed. "He's your cousin after all. He seemed to have offended Lin Yi before. If there's a chance, you should apologize for him in front of Lin Yi. It's not a big deal, it's all for your mom's sake." Lu Xiaoqiao, who was driving, curled his lips in disdain. If it weren't for his sister, he would have beaten that Fan Jian up. But since Tianli was talking, he didn't want to interrupt. Han Jingjing couldn't be bothered to ask how Fan Jian offended Lin Yi. With Lin Yi's level, there was no way he would care about a small fry like this. Even Han Jingjing herself didn't care about this Fan Jian. "Alright, I'll mention it when there's a chance," Han Jingjing said half-heartedly. The main thing right now was to wake up Lin Yi. As for Fan Jian, she'll think about it when he remembers. Tianli didn't really care about Fan Jian either. If it weren't for the fact that Fan Jian had come to him crying and begging for mercy, he wouldn't have mentioned this guy when he saw his daughter. Offended Lin Yi? Even if Lin Yi was his son-in-law, he wouldn't dare to offend him at all. Fan Jian was the one who did this to himself, so who could he blame? Soon the car arrived at the Lu Group skyscraper. It was already night, but the most important people of House Lu were already here. The employees who had been notified were naturally waiting respectfully in the parking lot. Han Jingjing didn't mind at all as she waved her hand to dismiss them. She then took the elevator to the top floor. Her office was still the same. In the beginning, this was Tianli's office, and after she took it over, it became hers. It was precisely because of this that Tianli had the chance to steal the information from the safe. But after Han Jingjing handed the company back to Tianli, this place was left empty by Tianli. Other than cleaning work, no one was allowed to enter. As for Lu Tianli himself, he found another room to use as his office, and so when Han Jingjing came in, she realized that it was exactly the same as before. Even the position of the furniture on the desk was exactly the same. "Jingjing, I always thought that you would come back to take over the company, but I also know that you don't care about our family business at all right now, and you don't have the time to take care of the company either. But I'll always keep your office, you can come back and use it whenever you want," Tianli said with a smile after following Han Jingjing in. Han Jingjing was a little touched. She smiled. "Thank you, Dad. In that case, I still have some of my old trinkets. Of course, none of them have been touched. I'll break the hands of whoever dares to take them." Tianli laughed. Han Jingjing didn't waste any time. She went into the room and opened the safe. There weren't any important documents related to the company in here, since she'd handed them all over to Tianli. What was left were the instruments and tools that Han Jingjing used for her research. Han Jingjing didn't bring anything other than a soft armor back from Sky Island. If she wanted to wake up Lin Yi, these things would be very useful. She could go buy them at the last minute, but things that she was used to would be more convenient. There were also some things that should be in the villa beside the school, but the things there were more or less the same. It wasn't as comprehensive as this place, so there was no need for her to come back. "Alright, I've got everything I need. I just wanted to come back to see you guys. Since you're all here, I don't need to go home. I'll come back to see you guys after I'm done with my business in Songshan." Han Jingjing was also very straightforward. She was ready to go back to the airport as soon as she got her things. They didn't know what happened in Songshan, but seeing how hurried Han Jingjing was, Lu Tianyi and the others couldn't really say anything. It was something that concerned Lin Yi, and no matter how small it was still a big deal. They all knew that. "Jingjing, why don't I go with you? Maybe I can be of some help?" Lu Tianyi asked after some thought. No matter what, going to Songshan wasn't a bad thing. Han Jingjing shook her head. No need, you guys can't help much anyways. Let's talk about it when I come back. Alright, you guys don't need to send me to the airport, just get someone to drive me. Sis, I'll be your chauffeur today. Lu Xiaoqiao said with a smile. Ever since he was young, Han Jingjing was the closest to him. Naturally, Han Jingjing wouldn't reject him. She nodded in agreement. Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli didn't want to be separated from Han Jingjing just like that, and so they decided to go with her. Han Jingjing's words were wasted. Lin Yi had told them about Han Jingjing's situation on Tianjie Island, but it was better for Han Jingjing to tell them personally than Lin Yi. And so, the way back to the airport became Han Jingjing's Tianjie Island trip report. Su Shihan's private plane landed in Donghai City at dawn, and Kang Xiaobo sent a car to pick her up and send her straight to Songshan. Luckily, Su Shihan's itinerary was kept secret. If her fans knew about it, they'd probably be stuck in the airport for half a day. When they arrived at Songshan's villa, Kang Xiaobo, Lai Changyi, Sun Jingyi, and the others were all waiting in the living room. Seeing Han Jingjing, of course, they greeted her passionately. Whether or not Lin Yi could wake up depended on Han Jingjing. They were all acquaintances, so there was no need to be polite. I'll go check on Lin Gich first. We'll talk later, Han Jingjing said with a smile as she carried her suitcase. Chapter 5750. In fact, those who were in this villa were the closest people to Lin Yi. There was really no need to be too particular. Han Jingjing didn't waste any more time, and quickly went upstairs to Lin Yi's room. Lin Yi's primordial spirit lying on the bed didn't seem to have any abnormalities on the surface. If it wasn't for the difference in the room, it would look exactly the same as Lin Yi's body on Heaven Island. Even the posture was exactly the same. Big brother Lin Yi, Jingjing is here. Han Jingjing rushed to the bed and put down the box in her hand. She reached out and held Lin Yi's hand and said firmly, Big brother Lin Yi, don't worry. Jingjing will definitely wake you up. Su Shihan was the second to come in. She was also very worried about Lin Yi, but seeing Han Jingjing's expression, she was too embarrassed to do the same. She could only stand by the door and watch without saying anything. She didn't continue to enter the room, and the people behind her also stopped. After Han Jingjing finished speaking, she let go of Lin Yi's hand and turned around to open the box. She took out all the tools and instruments inside one by one. Jingjing, what are you doing? Su Shihan couldn't help but ask. In fact, she wanted to ask more about Lin Yi's situation. It was just that Han Jingjing didn't seem to be doing any checks, so she didn't ask. Han Jingjing continued to put things out and said without turning her head, I just took a look. There is nothing wrong with Lin Yi's primordial spirit. Although it suffered a lot of damage, it only made Lin Yi's primordial spirit a little weaker. Shouldn't be like this. What is going on? I need to do a more detailed check. As she spoke, Han Jingjing had already started to dismantle some of the instruments and reassembled them into new ones. She also asked Kang Xiaobo to bring all the laptops, TVs, and phones in the villa for her to temporarily use as peripherals. The entire room was quickly filled with scattered components, and around Lin Yi's bed, there were 6 new pillar-shaped electronic devices. It looked a little ugly, but the people at the door didn't understand it, but they thought it was awesome. When Han Jingjing made these things, they made a lot of noise, but no one thought there was a problem. If the noise could wake up Lin Yi, they didn't mind setting off firecrackers in Lin Yi's ears all day. When the 6 electronic devices were finally connected by Han Jingjing, some messy lines began to appear on her laptop. Han Jingjing's face was slightly happy, as if she was very satisfied with the appearance of these lines. Other than Han Jingjing, no one else could understand what these lines meant. They were afraid of disturbing Han Jingjing, so they didn't dare to ask questions. They just watched quietly as Jingjing quickly typed in lines of commands on her laptop. 10 minutes later, Han Jingjing frowned and muttered, How strange, how could such a situation happen? Su Shihan immediately asked, Jingjing, what did you find out? How is it? Han Jingjing scratched her head and showed a cute expression. I'm not too sure. Lin Yi's situation is not easy to describe, so it's a little strange. Everyone was going crazy. Didn't that mean she didn't say anything? How strange was it? Why was it not easy to describe? Han Jingjing seemed to feel that it was not appropriate for her to say this, so she thought about it and continued. Let's put it this way, Lin Yi's primordial spirit indeed suffered a very serious injury. His primordial spirit's divine sense energy is continuously flowing out, but the speed is not fast. If there is no replenishment, it can still last for about a year, and after a year it will probably completely dissipate. Su Shirhan and Sun Jingyi's face paled. What was so strange about this situation? They should quickly think of a way to save Lin Yi. Jing, is there any way to stop this energy from flowing out? Not to mention a year, even if it's just a month, the damage to Lin Yi is very big, right? Sun Jingyi was born in a medical family, so she was very sensitive to this aspect. Han Jingjing said that Lin Yi can last for a year before it completely dissipates, which means that with each passing day, Lin Yi's injuries would worsen. A month was already very scary. Han Jingjing nodded. This is the strange part. Lin Yi Gige's primordial spirit is losing energy, but on the other hand, there is energy coming in to replenish it. It feels like Lin Yi Gige is cultivating on his own, but the effect isn't very good, just barely enough to keep up with the consumption. Sun Jingyi breathed a sigh of relief. This Han Jingjing was panting while talking. It really scared her. Then, could it be that Lin Yi's cultivation isn't enough to make up for the loss of energy, so he can't wake up? Didn't he have experience in self-healing before? Maybe it's the same this time. Su Shirhan guessed uncertainly, but there was a hint of truth in it. Maybe so. Han Jingjing said casually. Only she understood that Lin Yi's primordial spirit was different from his physical injuries. His magical qi might not be of much help to the primordial spirit's injuries. But Su Shirhan's words gave Han Jingjing some ideas. Since Lin Yi's energy loss and replenishment were in a balanced state, maybe increasing the replenishment would give Lin Yi a higher chance of waking up. As for how to increase Lin Yi's energy replenishment, Han Jingjing also had a plan. She prepared 6 cylindrical electrical appliances. After some slight changes, she could form a device similar to a spirit gathering array. But this device didn't gather spiritual qi, but soul power. This was the inspiration from the 2 European spirit hunters. Since there were countless people dying every day in this world, the soul power left behind by their souls before they disappeared, if no one collected it, it would drift between heaven and earth, and after a long time it would completely disappear. Since this was the case, why not make a device to collect this soul power for Lin Yi's use? A genius like Han Jingjing, of course, wouldn't be like the European spirit hunters, using weapons to fight with souls to collect soul power. She had 2 soul gathering bottles. Using this as the foundation, it was very easy to make a device similar to a spirit gathering array. Chapter 57-51. The amount of soul power in the 2 soul gathering bottles added up was a little more than a whole bottle. They weren't sure if it was an illusion, but everyone felt that Lin Yi's primordial spirit seemed to have solidified a little. It should be the effect of the soul power. Han Jingjing felt it for a moment, and her heart was a lot more assured. She immediately started to modify the equipment, and very quickly, with the 2 soul gathering bottles as the core, she completed the special spirit gathering formation. Although there wasn't a lot of soul power floating around in Songshan City, these strands were equivalent to the last straw that broke the camel's back. It directly broke the balance of consumption and replenishment for Lin Yi, and the balance began to tilt in the direction that was advantageous to Lin Yi. Han Jingjing secretly let out a sigh of relief. This method was really effective, and there was also an unexpected harvest. The dissipated energy from Lin Yi's primordial spirit was mostly recovered by the spirit gathering formation, and once again became replenishment for Lin Yi. This was equivalent to forming a virtuous cycle, and the effect was even more powerful. If this was the reason why Lin Yi was unconscious, he would probably wake up soon. If it was someone with a wicked heart, they might have started a massacre in Songshan City, and seized the opportunity to collect soul power. But Han Jingjing never had such a thought, so she didn't think that she had made such a terrifying device. If the evil cultivators on Heavenly Island found out about it, it would definitely cause a huge storm of blood. In the space of the jade, Lin Yi suddenly opened his eyes in surprise. He suddenly felt that his primordial spirit's cultivation speed suddenly increased. He didn't know what happened, but this change was quite gratifying. Not only that, Lin Yi also felt that the space of the jade seemed to have a trace of energy that was beneficial to the primordial spirit's cultivation, and this wasn't the original spiritual energy in the space of the jade. Jiao Lao, what's going on? Could it be that the space of the jade has changed? With that mutated dragon Languza following him all day, It was no wonder that Lin Yi's first thought was that the space of the jade had changed. The result was naturally a merciless laugh from Zhao Yazi. Kid, did you become stupid from cultivating? Even if you changed, the space of the jade can't change. Don't think about those useless things. Hurry up and cultivate. Actually, Zhao Yazi knew that the extra energy was soul power, but he didn't point it out to Lin Yi, because Zhao Yazi didn't know where the soul power came from. Since Lin Yi's consciousness couldn't go out, Zhao Yazi also couldn't investigate the situation outside. Soul power was the power of a person's soul. It would only leak out after a person died. A normal person could only have a small amount of soul power. Don't look at the small amount that entered the space of the jade. It was at least a dozen people's worth of soul power. Because he knew this, Zhao Yazi purposely hid it. The most important thing now was to connect Lin Yi's primordial spirit with the primordial spirit in the outside world. Everything else wasn't important. It didn't matter if someone was trying to save Lin Yi. Since Zhao Yazi couldn't do anything to stop it, he just needed to let Lin Yi cultivate without any burden. At the same time, in the second central base in the outskirts of Songshan, a naked woman floated in a giant glass culture tank. Her head was connected to hundreds of tiny wires, hidden in her long hair. It was almost impossible to see if one didn't pay attention. Zhang Wen, Kong Xiaolong, and the others were all here. Their eyes wandered around the perfect body of the woman, but they didn't dare to show any perverted expressions. The woman's name was Lan Xiaoru, and there were surveillance cameras everywhere in the base. It wouldn't be good if Lan Xiaoru came looking for trouble. Memory implantation complete. Clone body fusion complete. Activated. A stiff electronic voice announced emotionlessly. Following that, the tiny wires left Lan Xiaoru's head, and the culture fluid in the culture tank was slowly emptied. When the water level was lower than Lan Xiaoru's head, she slowly opened her eyes. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of confusion, but it quickly cleared up. Evidently, the fusion of memories had worked, and she was completely awake. As the water level dropped, Lan Xiaoru's body slowly stabilized on the ground. The glass culture tank sealed door silently sprang open, and Lan Xiaoru walked out confidently, without the slightest shyness or concealment. The first thing Lan Xiaoru said when she walked out wasn't asking for clothes. She asked coldly, "Is Lin Yi dead?" Zhang Wen waved his hand, and the two girls on the side immediately put the clothes on Lan Xiaoru. Zhang Wen bowed and said respectfully, "Respected Miss Lan, congratulations on your new life. I'm just a clone. What new life can I have? Are you cursing my original body to die?" Lan Xiaoru glanced at Zhang Wen coldly and humphed, "Is Lin Yi dead or not?" Zhang Wen didn't expect his flattery to backfire, but he didn't dare to show any dissatisfaction. Lan Xiaoru was a clone, and her identity was far superior to his, the person in charge of Base 2. He could only continue smiling. "Miss Lan is immortal, my bad. Lin Yi hasn't appeared since the explosion, but Changyi is still holding a concert. I don't think he'll die that easily." Lan Xiaoru looked at the clothes she was wearing. She seemed to be satisfied with Zhang Wen's preparation, but she didn't like his report. "It's been so many days, don't you know how to investigate? What estimate? If Changyi is in the mood to hold a concert, then Lin Yi will be fine. Go find out where he is now." Lan Xiaoru stood in front of Zhang Wen and ordered in an extremely domineering manner. She had to get rid of Lin Yi no matter what. This kind of opportunity wouldn't come by often. "Yes. Actually, I've already arranged for people to investigate Lin Yi's whereabouts. It's just that I've been focusing on reviving you these days, so I've neglected it. I'm sorry." Zhang Wen lowered his head and apologized. He knew Lan Xiaoru's personality very well. Going against her would never do him any good. As expected, Lan Xiaoru's expression softened a little when she heard Zhang Wen's words. She nodded. "Very good, you've done well. From today onwards, Zhang Wen, you're the commander-in-chief of the common world. You'll be in charge of everything." Chapter 57-52. Lan Xiaoru waved her hand and said, "I'll leave the matters of the secular world to you. My position is the chief scientific advisor. In the future, I will focus on improving the technological strength of the center of the secular world, so I don't have time to pay attention to these matters. You are a talent and we have been observing you for a long time. It's time for you to come out and take charge." Naturally, Zhang Wen thanked Lin Yi again and again with a face full of gratitude, But the two of them knew very well that this decision was made because the center's power in the common world had suffered quite a bit from Lin Yi's repeated attacks. There really wasn't anyone other than Jiang Wen who had the qualifications and experience to be the commander of the common world. Lan Xiaoru finished with Jiang Wen and turned to look at Zhao Long. The glasses doctor was killed by that traitor Dafeng, and he didn't leave a DNA sample, so there's no way to clone him. But the glasses doctor is a precious talent of the center, and there's a backup of his memories. I need to raise a young scientist to inherit the doctor's memories. Do you have any suggestions, head commanderin? Xiaolong's heart pounded furiously. Lan Xiaoru was talking to Jiang Wen, but her eyes were on Xiaolong. This wasn't even a hint, it was a blatant statement. He wouldn't be Xiaolong if he didn't get it. Xiaolong had already analyzed the pros and cons of this in a split second. Inheriting the glasses professor's memories would very likely cause him to lose his personality, but if that were the case, Lan Xiaoru wouldn't need to choose Xiaolong at all. She could have just picked a random young man. Since Lan Xiaoru had her eyes on Xiaolong, it was most likely because of his talent. After all, he was a young and promising doctor, and he was known as a genius. Xiaolong guessed that after inheriting the glasses doctor's memories, his personality would still be his, but the memories would be shared by both of them. It wasn't a big deal. On the other hand, Xiaolong would become one of the top figures in the common world, at the very least he'd be one of the top 3. This was a chance that Xiaolong had been dreaming of. He'd always been jealous of his cousin, Kong Ming. He was a useless playboy, but why was he able to do so well? He, the prodigy of House Kong, was like an ant. Now that there was a chance, Xiaolong would definitely grab it. Lan Xiaoru didn't say anything, but Xiaolong was already prepared to say yes. Jiang Wen was a smart man too. He only needed to glance at Lan Xiaoru to know what she was thinking. He smiled and nodded. What a coincidence, I have a suitable candidate here. At the same time, Jiang Wen reached out and pulled Xiaolong over. Miss Lan should know this Xiaolong, right? Originally, he came from the Central Sanctuary. He has the title of Doctor of Medicine, and his IQ is beyond doubt. Besides, he is Kong Ming's brother. Speaking of which, he is one of us. It's a waste of his talent to be my assistant. What do you think, Miss Lan? Here's the chance. Xiaolong looked at Jiang Wen gratefully. He didn't wait for Lan Xiaoru to ask. Miss Lan, I've always respected Dr. Glass's knowledge. If I could inherit his memories and let him use my body to be reborn, that would be my honor. Possible, please give me this chance. Lan Xiaoru smiled and nodded in satisfaction. Very well. I'm very happy that you're willing to make such a request. Dr. Glasses would be very satisfied to have a talent like you as a vessel for his rebirth. Then it's decided. Prepare the memory inheritance immediately. The equipment was ready-made, but only Lan Xiaoru knew the password to open the memory extraction. She had to do it herself. Jiang Wen looked at Xiaolong lying on the metal table, deep in thought. Theoretically speaking, Lan Xiaoru and Dr. Glasses were both immortal existences, but Lan Xiaoru used her own DNA to duplicate a body infinitely. Dr. Glasses, on the other hand, probably didn't want to clone himself because his original body was too weak. He only backed up his memories as a means of rebirth. Now that Jiang Wen was the commander-in-chief of the common world, he had the right to preserve the possibility of rebirth for himself. He was already considering whether he should choose Lan Xiaoru's method or Dr. Glass's method. Suddenly, Jiang Wen had an idea. Perhaps he could combine the two methods and keep a copy of his memories. He wouldn't use a human body as a vessel, but a clone body instead. Of course, this clone body wouldn't be his original body. A clone with no memories at all would be more suitable as a vessel for the memory inheritance. The first name that popped into Jiang Wen's mind was Lin Yi. Jiang Wen hated Lin Yi to the bone, but in his subconscious he really wanted to be like Lin Yi. If he could get a sample of Lin Yi's DNA and clone it, would he be as strong as Lin Yi? Jiang Wen couldn't stop himself from thinking about it. The more he thought about it, the more feasible it seemed. The only problem was, how could he get a complete copy of Lin Yi's DNA? Of course, problems could always be solved with solutions. With a plan like this, Jiang Wen believed that he could do it. Now that he was the commander-in-chief of the common world, he'd be able to think of a way to solve small problems like this. As Jiang Wen's thoughts ran wild, Xiaolong successfully inherited the doctor's memories and sat up with his hands on his messy head. Lan Xiaoru stood in front of Xiaolong, waiting for him to calm down before smiling. Xiaolong? Or should I keep using Dr. Glasses? Xiaolong put a hand on his forehead and chuckled. Miss Lan, just call me Xiaolong. I've inherited Dr. Glasses' memories, but the original name sounds better. Lan Xiaoru nodded with a smile. No problem, if you like Dr. Glasses you can change it. Xiaolong laughed and thanked Lan Xiaoru. He stood up and waved at Xue Jianfeng, who was sitting in the corner watching coldly. Xue Jianfeng, how's the fusion? Come here and give me a check. Chapter 57-53. Xiaolong had inherited the Glasses professor's memories, and Xue Jianfeng should have been happy about it. But looking at Xiaolong's annoying face, Xue Jianfeng regretted not killing him at the bottom of the sea. But no matter how unhappy he was, he didn't dare to show it. He walked over obediently. Glasses professor. It's great that you're able to come back to life. My situation seems to be pretty good. Xiaolong frowned. Call me Professor Kong. I know you respect the professor a lot, and I'm indeed the professor's reincarnation, but I hope you remember that I'm Xiaolong now. Do you hear me? Don't let this happen again. Xue Jianfeng was getting more and more pissed off. He was a powerful practitioner at the early stage of mystic ascension, but he was being scolded mercilessly by an ant like Xiaolong. Didn't this idiot know that he could kill him with a single glance? Yes, I hear you. It won't happen again. Xue Jianfeng gave in, feeling extremely wronged. There was still poison in the center of his body. If he could get rid of the poison, he'd never let that bastard Xiaolong go. Xiaolong was satisfied with Xue Jianfeng's attitude. He picked up a scalpel and threw it to Xue Jianfeng. Make a bigger wound for me. He wanted to cut Xue Jianfeng for fun, but Xue Jianfeng's defense wasn't something anyone could break. Even if Xiaolong used a large knife, he wouldn't be able to leave a mark on Xue Jianfeng's body, much less a scalpel. Xue Jianfeng's eyebrows twitched. He gritted his teeth and grabbed the scalpel. He made a cut on his arm, and a 30-centimeter long cut appeared. It was so deep that the bone could be seen. This guy was really cruel to himself. Xiaolong didn't care about Xue Jianfeng's feelings and expressions. He focused on the wound. Lan Xiaoru and Zhang Wen did the same. They were all looking forward to Xue Jianfeng's self-healing ability. Blood seeped out of the cut quickly, but before it could form, the cut closed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In a short 10 seconds, there wasn't even a scar left on Xue Jianfeng's arm. Only traces of blood proved that there really was a wound. Xiaolong clapped his hands and laughed. It worked. Our Kong family's golden sword medicine is quite amazing. Once this new medicine is mass-produced, we will be able to form an undead army. Xue Jianfeng wiped away the bloodstains on his arm and sneered in his heart. The Kong clan's golden sword medicine was indeed not bad, but he wasn't completely clueless. He had seen the recipe, and the ingredients inside were extremely rare and precious even in the secular world. It was impossible to concoct such a medicine in large quantities. Furthermore, only Xue Jianfeng understood the pain and difficulty of fusing the medicine. Even with his early-stage profound ascension physique, he almost couldn't endure it. Build an undead army? Let's find someone who can withstand the potion's power without dying first. Due to his displeasure towards Xiaolong and Zhang Wen, Xue Jianfeng didn't voice out his thoughts. He maintained his silence. His goal now was to increase his strength and find a chance to get rid of the poison in his body. Then he would be truly free. Let's talk about the army later. Let's discuss the plan to deal with Lin Yi first. If Xue Jianfeng could finish the fusion earlier, perhaps the sacred base wouldn't have been destroyed. But it doesn't matter, it's just a base. As long as we can kill Lin Yi's Yuan Shan, everything will be worth it. Lan Xiaoru couldn't forget about killing Lin Yi. After seeing Xue Jianfeng's performance, she immediately made arrangements to deal with Lin Yi. Zhang Wen quickly found someone to ask about the results of the investigation. Fortunately, there was the latest feedback. As the chief commander, he didn't seem so useless. Miss Lan Lin Yi still hasn't appeared. But our people said that there are many people gathered in Lin Yi's villa in Songshan. Perhaps Lin Yi is hiding there to heal. Why don't we just kill them all? Even if Lin Yi isn't here, killing a few of his lackeys would be good too. Zhang Wen suggested passionately. In fact, he wanted to take advantage of the fact that a master like Xue Jianfeng was here to snatch the unconscious Ming Yao. Normally Jiang Wen wouldn't dare to do this. The lackeys under Lin Yi were very strong. They weren't people he could mess with. But now it was different. He didn't use the power he had. Lan Xiaoru sighed. Lin Yi hasn't appeared yet. It's very likely that he went back to Sky-class Island. After all, he's just a primordial spirit. If he's injured too heavily, he'll just disintegrate and return. It seems that I'll have to contact the main body on Heaven Island to confirm. Chief Commanderin, have someone continue to monitor the villa from the outside, and then install some monitoring equipment in the surroundings. Keep me updated. Yes, Miss Lan. I'll give the order right away. Jiang Wen didn't say anything else. He immediately went to inform his men. Lan Xiaoru also sent a letter to Sky-class Island to ask about Lin Yi through the special channel of the center. One day later, Sky-class Island replied. They said that after investigation, Lin Yi's main body was still unconscious. This meant that Lin Yi's Yuanshen hadn't returned. It was still in the common world. It might be because it was injured too badly. After getting the letter, Lan Xiaoru slammed the table excitedly. This is a chance. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We must seize it. Chief Commanderin, immediately let your men connect the signal of the surveillance equipment here. We need to carefully observe the situation in this villa. We must make sure that Lin Yi is inside and kill him in one blow. For Lan Xiaoru, Lin Yi was the only one she needed to pay attention to. As for his men and women, they weren't important at all. Before Lin Yi died, she wouldn't touch those people easily. Once Lin Yi died, it would be easy to deal with them. So now Lan Xiaoru must make sure that Lin Yi was in the villa. Then she would launch a thunderous strike and kill Lin Yi completely. Xue Jianfeng sat on the sofa indifferently, as if nothing had anything to do with him. In fact, if they wanted to investigate the villa, it was a very good plan to let Xue Jianfeng sneak in. However, Lan Xiaoru didn't want to alert the enemy, so she didn't use it. Xue Jianfeng also wouldn't take the initiative to bring it up, although he and the guys in the center had the same position on killing Lin Yi. Chapter 57-54. Lan Xiaoru looked at the small image on the huge display screen, and her hands jumped quickly on the control keyboard. In addition to the normal video surveillance, there were also high-tech surveillance methods such as thermal imaging, infrared imaging, and so on. They could see every corner of the entire villa clearly. It was a pity that Lin Yi was a spirit body, and these surveillance methods could not find his exact location, so they could not be sure if Lin Yi was really in the villa. Because of this, Lan Xiaoru did not dare to act rashly for a while, for fear that she could not hit the target and give Lin Yi a chance to catch his breath. She did not know that if she attacked now, Lin Yi might really be killed by her, and the hesitation at this critical moment really gave Lin Yi a chance to live. In the villa, Han Jingjing was still waiting by Lin Yi's side, paying attention to the changes on the instrument at all times. What made her feel at ease was that looking at the fluctuations of those lines, Lin Yi's condition was gradually improving. First of all, the speed of energy loss began to slow down after these days of strong replenishment, and the speed of replenishment had further increased. If her guess was right and it went smoothly, Lin Yi would be able to wake up soon, and Han Jingjing's purpose of coming back would basically be considered to have been achieved. At this moment, Han Jingjing found that the technological surveillance array she had set up had captured some strange energy signals, and she immediately operated quickly on the notebook. What is this? Surveillance equipment? In less than 10 seconds, Han Jingjing easily found the source of the trace of energy signal. It turned out to be a thermal imaging instrument not far from the villa. Originally, someone had set up surveillance equipment around the villa, and it should have been discovered by the people in the villa early on. However, these guys used the identity of repairing the network base station as a cover, and they did not arouse the suspicion of Kong Xiaobo and the others. They openly installed all kinds of surveillance equipment around the villa. When it came to combat experience, all the people in this villa added up would not be comparable to Lin Yi. Han Jingjing was also a little speechless. If it were not for this surveillance tool discovering a trace of abnormal energy, she would not have paid attention to what the people outside were doing. I'd like to see who is so concerned about my big brother Lin Yi. Han Jingjing snorted and immediately began to reverse track on the notebook, trying to find out where the signal was flowing to. Han Jingjing's genius was not only manifested in research and manufacturing various inventions. In fact, she used to be one of the top 5 hackers in the world, and her technical strength was not inferior to the unconscious Tu Ranran. It was just that no one knew her identity, and she only appeared occasionally for fun, so she was not known. Although she had not been in the secular world for a few years, Han Jingjing's skills had not fallen behind. Instead, they had become even more powerful. It was likely that she had set up her own security defenses and cracked the invasions on Heaven Island. For Han Jingjing, this was just a little game for her to relax when she was tired. Hee, I caught you. In less than 3 to 5 minutes, Han Jingjing chuckled proudly. This was much simpler than the security protection she set up herself. Lan Xiaoru did not expect that the surveillance equipment would be tracked by Han Jingjing. In fact, Lan Xiaoru's technical strength was not inferior to Han Jingjing's, but Lan Xiaoru never considered that the people in the villa would discover and track her, so she did not set up too complicated defenses. The few firewalls were set up by Lan Xiaoru out of habit. It was enough for ordinary hackers, but for Han Jingjing it was completely useless. This time, not only did she find the source of the signal, but Han Jingjing also silently followed the video signal and invaded the center system. It was rare for them to open a receiving port. If Han Jingjing did not make good use of it, it would be a waste of their hospitality. Center. I knew it. Let's see where you can run now. The screen in front of Han Jingjing was densely packed with confidential information from the center's central computer. Even Han Jingjing's beautiful big eyes showed a fanatical look. Aya, the hard disk space is not enough. Damn it. Han Jingjing muttered and quickly pulled another computer on the side. After connecting it quickly, she continued to copy the center's database. Taking advantage of this time, she also observed Lin Yi's situation. It was still developing in a good direction, so Han Jingjing continued to control the center's central computer. With the highest control authority, Han Jingjing could copy the center's confidential information without any scruples. Originally, she wanted to delete all the information after copying, but doing so was likely to be discovered by the people in the center, so Han Jingjing maintained extreme caution. She only copied it and did not act rashly. Suddenly, the name of a project caught Han Jingjing's attention: Spirit Incinerator. This name was obviously targeted at brother Lin Yi. How could Han Jingjing let it go? She immediately secretly looked at this file first. To her surprise, the research project was still in progress, and the information was constantly being updated. To put it simply, Han Jingjing was on a live broadcast. Spirit Incinerator was based on the superflame researched by the glasses doctor in the center's sacred. It was a simplified device that made it easier to carry around, but the power of the flame in a unit wouldn't be reduced at all. The glasses doctor's memory had been passed on to Xiaolong, so this project was now under Xiaolong's management. Lan Xiaoru also helped solve some of the problems, which made the research progress quite fast. Han Jingjing was secretly shocked as she watched. Sure enough, she wasn't the only genius in this world. The guy who developed the primordial spirit incinerator was an extremely intelligent existence. Han Jingjing felt that he wasn't much inferior to her. Of course, now wasn't the time to be amazed by the opponent's strength. Seeing that the spirit incinerator was about to be completed, Han Jingjing felt that she should do something, but she didn't know what to do yet. It wasn't that Han Jingjing didn't have a plan, but there was more than one action she could take, and she didn't know which one was the best. Brother Lenny, you're really lucky. Luckily it was Jingjing who came. If the other sisters came, they wouldn't be able to discover the central plot. Knowing that Lin Yi's condition was improving, Han Jingjing's mood improved as well. She couldn't help but praise Lin Yi. Chapter 57-55. As she spoke, Han Jingjing got busy again. She gathered the scattered parts and started making something. In the second base, Xiaolong and Lan Xiaoru finally completed the simplified version of the super flame, the spirit burner. Now was the time to use it to kill Lin Yi. Xue Jianfeng, install this spirit burner on the flying saucer and go to the villa to kill Lin Yi. Xiaolong said to Xue Jianfeng proudly as he pointed at the spirit burner he had just made. Xue Jianfeng turned to Lan Xiaoru and asked, Miss Lan, have you confirmed that Lin Yi is in the villa? Also, is this thing really effective? If something goes wrong, should I just kill Lin Yi and be done with it? Lan Xiaoru looked at Xue Jianfeng with approval. Not bad, your question is very good. Our first goal is to kill Lin Yi no matter what. If the spirit burner doesn't work, then we'll have to rely on you to kill Lin Yi's spirit. Remember, don't fail." After a slight pause, Lan Xiaoru continued, "As for whether or not Lin Yi is in the villa, I'm not sure yet, but I'm guessing that there's a 90% chance that he is. Just do whatever you want." Xue Jianfeng nodded. "I understand. I'll go prepare now." Xiaolong wasn't happy that Xue Jianfeng ignored him. He humphed. "Forget it, I'll go with you. I'm the one who made this spirit burner after all. If anything goes wrong, I'll be able to take care of it." "That's good. I'll be more at ease with Professor Kong." Lan Xiaoru nodded. She didn't object to Xiaolong's suggestion. Xue Jianfeng was annoyed. She didn't even trust him for something like this. This Xiaolong was too much. Did he think that just because he inherited Professor Glass's memories, he really became Professor Glasses? However, Xue Jianfeng also knew that he was the one who had the least right to speak, so he didn't say much. He picked up the small cannon-shaped spirit incinerator and turned to leave the room. Xiaolong called out to Lan Xiaoru and Zhang Wen before following them out. He didn't pay much attention to Xue Jianfeng's feelings. He only wanted to go along because of his hatred for Lin Yi. There weren't many chances to kill Lin Yi with his own hands, so Xiaolong wouldn't miss it. The sky was already dark by the time everything was ready. The flying saucer carried Xue Jianfeng and Xiaolong, activating the cloaking device and leaving Songshan's outskirts, flying towards Lin Yi's villa. It wasn't even a minute before it reached Lin Yi's villa. It was a city area after all, and the speed of the flying saucer was incredibly fast. Xue Jianfeng's divine sense swept over first. This distance wasn't a problem at all. As long as there wasn't any divine sense shielding device, he could see everything in the villa clearly. It was much better than the surveillance devices outside. Lin Yi really is heavily injured. He's lying unconscious in the room on the second floor. Xue Jianfeng said, pleasantly surprised. If he knew it would be so easy, why would he need those surveillance devices? He could have just asked him to take a look around here. However, Xue Jianfeng's divine sense was noticed by Languza. Languza was much stronger than Xue Jianfeng, and so was his divine sense. Xue Jianfeng's scan was immediately noticed by Languza, and he followed up with a scan. Xue Jianfeng's body shook and he mumbled, "I forgot about this guy. Even if Lin Yi's injuries aren't light, this guy isn't easy to deal with." Xiaolong, on the other hand, didn't notice Xue Jianfeng's mumbling. When he heard that Lin Yi was on the second floor of the villa, he laughed evilly. "Ha ha, the heavens are on my side. That bastard Lin Yi finally has his day. Watch how this young master's primordial spirit incinerator turns him into ashes." Xue Jianfeng wanted to say that there was a mystic late-stage master who had his eyes on them, but when he thought that Lin Yi was about to die, he didn't say it out loud. More importantly, Xue Jianfeng thought that even if he couldn't win against Languza, it wouldn't be a problem. After merging with the new recovery potion, his body was almost immortal. Languza was strong, but he might not be able to do anything to Xue Jianfeng. If he could use this chance to kill Xiaolong, it would be perfect. Firing the spirit incinerator not only gave him a chance to kill Lin Yi, but it also gave him a chance to kill Xiaolong. This was killing two birds with one stone. Xue Jianfeng wanted to laugh out loud at the thought of it. He should give himself a thumbs up for being so smart. These thoughts flashed through his mind in an instant. Xiaolong didn't know that Xue Jianfeng was planning to get rid of him with a borrowed knife. He was still laughing proudly as he activated the soul burner, aiming for the villa below. A blazing white super flame suddenly descended from the sky. It was as if a small sun had lit up in the night sky, illuminating the entire villa area. "Die! Die! Die all of you!" Xiaolong laughed crazily as he pushed the burner's power to the maximum. The white super flame brought with it waves of heat, engulfing the entire villa. Zhang Wen, who was far away in the second base, changed his expression. "What's wrong with Xiaolong? Didn't we agree to only kill Lin Yi's soul? Does he intend to kill everyone in this villa with this level of intensity?" The super flame did damage to the soul without a doubt. It was obvious from Lin Yi's current situation. But in fact, the super flame didn't only work on the soul. It would burn everything else as well. Judging from the range of the super flames that Xiaolong had unleashed, the entire villa would be completely destroyed in 1 or 2 seconds. Everyone inside, including Languza, would probably be burned to ashes. Jiang Wen didn't care about the others, but Meng Yao was in deep slumber as well. This bastard Zhaolong was going to kill Yao Yao as well. But the super flame of the spirit burner had already been unleashed. Even Jiang Wen couldn't stop it now. Killing Lin Yi was something to be happy about, but letting Yao Yao die with him was something he couldn't accept.